All right. Hopefully we're up and running. Welcome into the High Noon Rant, heard every Monday through Friday, 12. Usually it's not 12 o'clock now. I apologize for that. We had stuff to do today. There was just stuff that was going on, had to take care of it. So I do apologize, but this gives me an opportunity to test a different day part. Been doing it at noon, a rundown of all the day's hot topics, current events, all that stuff. A rant, a stream of consciousness performance every day since saying the quiet part out loud since 2021. I don't know. I don't know if I love that. Somebody said that to me, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't know if I love that as a saying. But again, normally it's like noon to 2-ish. But today we're going to go a little bit. It's probably not going to be a full 2 hours. I do apologize, but it's we're gonna do a show. I got a full show. I prepared an entire show for you. I'm not going to let that go to waste. Also, programming note: Wednesday's show is also going to be delayed. Wednesday's show will be delayed probably about an hour, possibly just like this one. Probably a 1:30 start. I don't know that for sure. That could be a 3 o'clock start. I might go, hey, let's just see what afternoon drive feels like. See if there's a new audience there. But yeah, so today, I apologize. Thank you so much. And Wednesday. Adam's in the chat room. Adam says, was waiting for you to start to be on my bike ride. Did 21.3 miles yesterday. Going to do a paltry 11 today. That's all right. That's pretty good. I don't want a bike ride. I got to be honest with you. I don't bike. I mean, I applaud that. I applaud those who are out there and choosing bike riding as their workout of choice. I don't want a bike ride. It's too dangerous. There's too much. Something goes wrong. I'm sorry. I'm at an age now where something goes wrong. The chain skips. Whatever. I go flying over. It's not just skin knees and mommy, make it better. No, now it's like emergency. I need an orthopedic surgeon. So bikes, they get going too fast, and there's too many opportunities for, me to have something happen. So I got to get back into my jogging. I liked my jogging. I got to get back into that. I haven't done that in a while. Cardio first. That's what you got to always say. Cardio first. Get yourself all yoked. Get your six pack. Hey, before you do that, make sure your heart works. Make sure that, you got a little cardio. I had great cardio when I was running. I don't know why I don't run anymore. I have this beautiful neighborhood here. Just don't do it. How was your weekend, everybody? Did you have a good weekend? I had a good weekend with the kid. Me and the kid, we had a good weekend. We had fun. We did almost nothing. We laid around. I got a whole thing. I'll tell you about, I mentioned it last week. I said it's Roadhouse weekend around these parts. Roadhouse weekend. Me and the boy made the boy watch Roadhouse. Actually, didn't have to make him watch Roadhouse. He wanted to watch Roadhouse. Of course, he thought I was talking about the new one with Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor that debuted on Prime last week. But no, I was talking about the original Roadhouse. I'm like, you got to watch the original. He's like, and he knows better now. He's 14. He knows better than to push back. Just don't push back on it. Just if you know what, he's willing to watch the new Roadhouse. I made a case to him. I told him, look, there's probably going to be a whole bunch of little Easter eggs and a whole bunch of, similar scenes and all that. Wouldn't you think it would be more fun for you if you were familiar with it? You could see the original and then we'll roll right into, well, that's what we did. We watched the original Roadhouse on Saturday night and then rolled right into the new one. Tell you how that went down later in today's show. But before we do that, what is this show? This show is a compilation of all the things that are happening in the world. I go through the newspapers. I find all the hot topics, the headlines, whatever it is that's trending. If people are buzzing about it today, I'm going to give it to you. I perform this show, this rant, if you will, in a stream of consciousness. What is that? That is no net. That is just me talking. No stops, no interruptions. I don't get to, throw it to somebody else. Bob, what's your take on this? I don't get to do that. I don't have traffic, no commercials. We don't play songs. No, nothing like that. It's just me talking endlessly about the world until we're done. And that's what the rant is. Okay, how is it laid out for you? 4 quarters, like a football game. I give you 4 distinct quarters here in this show. The first quarter, we call that antecedently on this day. That's just this day in history. It's just where I cherry pick some events that have occurred on this day in history. We talk about them. I riff a little. And I'll leave this segment, you'll be like, wait a second, I know for a fact that X happened on this day, and Pugs didn't talk about it. I didn't have anything to rant about it. There's like, I ignore things. I ignore things, but like, maybe I should mention that, but who cares? It's only shit that I care about that I will rant about here in the quarter one antecedently on this day. Quarter two is birthdays. You get that. People are having a birthday today. Quarter three is the deads. Yeah, we like the deads. The deads, this is different. This is different than birthdays. This isn't just people who died on this day. We take some people who died on this day and we open up their life's resume and we decide, where did they go? Heaven or hell? Based on how we understand that, where did these people go? That's quarter three, the deads. Quarter four, Hot Topic Palooza. Hot Topic Palooza. I don't know what we could call Hot Topic, Trendapalooza, whatever. It's all the stuff. Fourth quarter is the bulk of the show. First three quarters only going to take about 30 minutes. Quarter four is like, boom, that's the meat and potatoes. All the things people are buzzing about, everything that you need to know about this particular day. Okay. We have an executive producer on today's show, and I really need to sell out a big, happy thank you. Thank you so much. Tracy D is today's executive producer. Tracy D became the executive producer when she tipped more than anybody else. She was the big tipper over the weekend, and sure do appreciate it. Tracy D, exec producing today's show. We don't do this show without you folks. 2.5 years now. Your tips, your gratuities, all of that. Sorry, I'm distracted by a squirrel. I shouldn't be distracted when I'm making the preacher pitch, right? That's how this show runs. You guys, this is not talk radio like occurs anywhere else. This is non-political, non-divisive. I don't give a shit about your red hats. I don't give a shit about you libs. I don't care about that stuff. We are right down the middle here because that's who I am, and that's who I believe most of you people are. And yet, there are absolutely no viewpoints in this country that reflect our state of mind. It's all very absolute. I am absolute going to run around in a red hat with a former president's mugshot and just say fucking stupid shit. There's those people. And then there's the other people on the other side who are just so irritating with all of their, that's not us. We're the normal people. We're the normal people who've been caught between and honestly exploited for years and years. We say no. That's what the High Noon Rant is. That's what a stream of consciousness is. I had absolutely no inclination to discuss any of that stuff, and it just started, and boom, here we go. I need a sip. Weekend was great. I had a great weekend. I really wanted to go see that Late Night with the Devil movie. I'm wondering if anybody saw it. Probably not. I know Paul Varghese did. Funny man. Paul Varghese, local comedic legend, one of the best stand-up comedians I've ever seen in my life. He's just so strong and polished, and he's just good. He's just like, yeah, that guy's a pro. Anyway, I saw Paul tweeted on Twitter that he was going to see Late Night with the Devil. I didn't get to see a review, but that's what I was looking at this weekend. But we didn't pull the trigger. We decided to do Roadhouse night. 3.5 hours of Roadhouse universe content. It was a thing. It was a thing. Spent all day. I made meatball sandwiches. I made fresh meatballs, and I made meatball sandwiches with baked mozzarella. Boy, oh boy, let me tell you something. I went to 3 different stores trying to find some form of passable jardiniere. What's jardiniere, Pugs? Jardiniere is a something you put on Italian sandwiches. It's something you put on a meatball sandwich for sure. It's hot peppers. It's Italian. It's like Italian hot. You know, there's like Mexican hot. It's like, oh, be careful. That salsa's hot. You know, Mexican hot. This is Italian hot. Jardiniere is Italian hot. A little difference, but bam. Excellent on sandwiches. Excellent. Bought this jardiniere at the 3rd store I went to. It was just awful. It was like, oh my God. Even my kid is like, this isn't jardiniere. I go, look at the label. And she's like, but look at it, Dad. It doesn't look like it. I go, I know. It was all cauliflower. There ain't no cauliflower in jardiniere. And if there is, it's just like very little. It almost ruined our meatball sandwich experience. April says, I did a little homework, watched 2 episodes of The Regime, felt like I was on an acid trip. So what do you think? What do you think? Come on, tell me. I've been hoping you guys would jump on The Regime, trying to figure out if maybe we should do a podcast about that, a fan cast, because nobody knows this show. I think it's freaking crazy. I love it. April jumped in. I'd love to hear what you. Well, I guess she did give us a bit of a review. She says, felt like I was on an acid trip. Yeah. Yeah. April says, can't stop fixating on Kate Winslet making her mouth move weird to talk. Right? Right? That's what I mean. Kate Winslet, who we all know is a terrific actress, is making some bold ass choices with this character. She plays a Central European dictator. She's the president, or I don't know what they call her, chancellor of this like made up Central European country. That's all those. It's a Central European country. I don't even know if we've gotten a name of it yet. Have we? I think we have. I don't remember it though. She's crazy, and she created this accent. And they're like, well, explain the accent. And she goes, well, the country doesn't exist. So I had free range to basically create any European type accent. It's weird. It's like Dutch English. It's like Dutch, Queen's English, and like a little bit of Eastern European. I don't know. I love it. Leslie C says, who does the little boy belong to? Okay, we're talking about the regime. Look at this. This show is turning into a regime podcast that I was already. Look at how meta are we? Talking about doing a podcast while talking about what the podcast. I don't know. Meta. I don't even know if that's the proper use of that word. I'm sure Adam will tell me if it's not. Leslie asks, who does the little boy belong to? Okay, so the little boy belongs to the shaven head handmaiden. You know, she's kind of, I don't know what her deal is, but she kind of dotes on the chancellor, Kate Winslet being the chancellor, the dictator. She dotes on her. So she has a son. She has a little boy who has epilepsy. And the queen, or the chancellor, Kate Winslet, the dictator, likes the son. And I think there's some kind of arrangement where the handmaid has to let the chancellor raise her kid for some weird. Come on. Kate Winslet is so weird in this role. There are so many weird, like her husband, like they were talking to her husband, who's like the first husband of this country. He was telling his story about how he met his wife. And his story is basically this. Yeah, we were both in med school together, and I didn't really know her, but apparently she took a liking to me. And at the time I was married and I had just had a child, and we had just gotten a house together and we were building our life. But then she decided that she wanted to marry me. So here I am. Like, that's her husband. And he's like, didn't even know who she was. I just went to college with her. And all of a sudden she's like, I like you. You will marry me and leave your family. And he did. It's crazy. She also thinks she's like a lounge singer. So like whenever she has events, she gets up and sings like bad 70s yacht rock songs. It's so great. The regime is equal parts Blue Velvet, Succession, and The Crown. It's so weird. Okay, but we're done. We're done. I can go on and on with that for a long time. April says, Leslie, I think he is the son of the short-haired woman, but I am curious if she was a surrogate or what. No, not a surrogate. Although I think maybe the chancellor looks at it that way now, because Kate Winslet likes the kid, even though it's not her kid, but it's the kid of the woman who like changes the bed sheets, and the kid's there in the palace. So now the kid is hers. Kind of like her husband. Her husband was somebody else's father and husband, and he's not anymore. Now he's just Kate Winslet because she wanted it, because that's how dictators roll. All right, enough. Trust me, I haven't watched last night's Regime yet. And the reason is because these shows, I refuse to be, I refuse to let them run my life through calendar scheduled TV. Like, here's an hour. Oh, you like the show? Here's an hour of it. There you go. Did you get enough with the hour? Oh, you didn't? You didn't get enough of it with the hour? Wait a week. I don't do that. I refuse to do that. It ain't 1979 anymore. That's how we used to have to do it. When the freaking Dukes of Hazzard would end an episode with the General Lee airbound, and, you know, then you'd hear, I think it was Denver Pyle, or maybe it was Waylon Jennings. I don't know. Waylon Jennings. The car, General Lee would be airbound. You know, it's like jumped over something. And then you'd hear, well, how the Duke boys going to get out of this one? Tune in next week. And I was always like, no, that sucks. I got to wait a week to find out if they made it or not. Of course they made it, but I was 8 years old. So I didn't know. I thought maybe there was a chance they were going to die. I didn't know how television worked. I didn't know that they were stars with contracts that had to come back for the next episode. So I refused to do that. So I didn't watch last night's Regime yet. I will watch last night's Regime at the conclusion of next week's Regime. When next week posts, then I will watch them too. I'm a weird person, man. You folks, you should know this by now. Let's see. April says, it is very interesting. So, yes, I would watch you stream about it. Got to be first. That's what this digital thing is. You got to be first. And it's a new show. And I think, I looked at it and I went, okay, what is the next hot show going to be and how can I get in there first? Because if you're doing it first and you're like the only one doing it, and you people help out by like clicking it and like you don't even have to actually listen to it. Just like give the impression that you watched it. That would be great if you could help with that. But because we'd be the only one, like I bet we could get Kate Winslet. I bet she would come on and do I bet that's not crazy. The regime. Got to come up with a name. I don't know. I need like one more episode. Let me see the next 2 episodes and then I'll decide if I want to go hard for the back half of this season. And then we'll be ready to roll at the start of next season. I don't know. Of course, I don't think anybody's watching it. So it very well may just go away. It may be so weird that people are like, isn't this weird like Carnival? It's also got I'm trying to figure out if it's expensive too, because that's the other thing you worry about a show. A cheap show that doesn't get big ratings will get a chance to find its ratings. An expensive, big bloated show with a huge budget, that won't get a chance. It's no way. Like remember the weekend show from last year? The big show, The Idol, I think it was called. They were like, 3 episodes. Nope, this ain't going anywhere. So I don't know. I don't know if the regime is expensive or not. Kate Winslet's expensive, but I think she's also one of the executive producers, which would mean that she doesn't necessarily get a big paycheck up front, but it's about ownership and distribution rights and back-end money down the road. Moving on, let's do the high noon rant. That's enough of this nonsense. Oh, yeah, Barney, your show could save it. Yeah. Let's get started. It is the high noon rant. I am Pugs Moran. Welcome to my stream of consciousness. It's the 25th day of the 3rd month, year of our Lord 2024. March 25th is the 84th day of the year. 281 more of these remain until the end of the year. All right, let's get into quarter 1, as I teased earlier. Quarter 1, a little segment we call Antecedently on This Day. Antecedently on this day in 1584, Sir Walter Raleigh is granted a patent to colonize Virginia. Now, I have to be honest. I didn't have to be all that discerning with today's, things that happened on this day. Not a whole lot. This is not a great day. Nobody ever wrote home about this day. On this day, antecedently in 1911 in New York City, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire killed 146 garment workers. This is one of those big events that happened, and then we changed the way we do things. For instance, you know why 146 people died? By the way, most of them teenagers, because they didn't have any rules back then in schools. Why are you going to school? I guess they didn't talk like that in New York. They probably talked like, why are you going to a school? Like in 1901. That was an Italian immigrant impersonation. Anyway, teenagers and all that shit, they worked in sweatshops. They worked and they pumped out the nation's T-shirts and sweatpants and hoodies. No, they didn't have any of that. Not in 1914. What were they pumping out? Button-up white shirts and black jackets. That's it. There were no T-shirts. If you wore a T-shirt, you wore it underneath a button-up. You wore a T-shirt. Nobody just walked. For instance, nobody in 1950, right? What was a big brand in the 1950s? I'm trying to think what's a big brand that isn't really around anymore. Hula hoop. All right, hula hoop was huge, right? Huge. There were nobody. You never see any pictures of a dude standing in a backyard wearing a T-shirt that says hula hoop. They didn't start writing on T-shirts until like the 1970s and 80s. I believe the very first T-shirt anyone ever wrote on was "Keep on Trucking." I think that was the first one. Don't look it up. Just go with me. Go with me on that. It's much better to live in a world where that was the first T-shirt. The Triangle Fire was a bunch of 14-year-old kids, and they had to lock them in because they were kids. Sometimes they were like, I'm getting out of here, because, kids didn't really want to be working 12 hours in a sweatshop. So in order to stop the kids from leaving, they locked them in. They put giant bolts on the doors, and then a fire broke out and everybody died. Gruesomely enough, not half the people, but a lot of the people I just said, I don't know why I feel need to be hyperbolic. A lot of the people died from just jumping out of windows because they could break the windows, but they couldn't get out. Oh, my God. On this day, 1911, New York City, the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. It was this event that had made them have the brilliant decision to, hey, how about we don't lock people in to places that might catch on fire? If a place might catch on fire. Antecedently on this day in 1947, an explosion in a coal mine in Centralia, Illinois, kills 111 people. There you go. There's another one. Sorry, this was 1947. 1947, 111 people killed in an explosion in a coal mine. Now, once again, why did this happen? Because they didn't have any rules back then. They were just like, let's dig the hole as far as we can go, and let's go inside and let's light dynamite off and see what happens. See, look at this. We go back 1911, the Triangle Fire. The man killing off a bunch of little kids because who cares? The man did this with his crazy rules. Let's lock him in. 1947, Centralia, Illinois, one of the big coal mining disasters in American history. The man just didn't want to make, he didn't want to do it. He didn't care. He just put them all, set them down there. They're all dead. On this day, antecedently in 1965, civil rights activists led by Martin Luther King successfully complete their 4-day, 50-mile march from Selma to the Capitol in Montgomery, Alabama. Seems like that's a big thing, right? Seems like doesn't that seem like a big thing? I mean, it's got Martin Luther King. It's got the word Selma. It happened in 1965 under the category of civil rights. That's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. Is it a holiday? I mean, is like what I'm trying to figure out is, did I just stumble across this, or is this something that's being discussed today? Like if you tuned into CNN or something at some point today, will they go, today marks the anniversary? I don't know. Seems like it should be a big thing. Civil rights, MLK, Selma. I don't know entirely what happened in Selma. I've seen footage of dogs being set on people, and so at that point I go, fuck man's cruelty to man. I'm out. So I got the gist of what this stuff was all about, but the ins and the outs, I don't concern myself with such terrible things. On this day, antecedently, isn't that white man's privilege? White man's privilege. It might be white man's privilege. It might also be, that I was born long after that, so it wasn't really a thing. And I love history, and I don't know. White man's privilege that I don't have to concern. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying, shouldn't it be a big deal? Like, how come I'm like reading this? Like, is this the big one? Because I know there was a big one. There was like a big one with Martin Luther King involved in the Pettit Bridge and all that. See, I know some details. I play stupid. Eamon Pettit. I think that was his name. I don't know. Eamon might be the name of the dude in Fort Worth that they name everything after. Whatever. Huge stuff. Huge of civil rights. Hugely important. Just doesn't seem like, I don't know. Are people talking about that today? On this day, antecedently in 1975, Faisal of Saudi Arabia is shot and killed by his nephew. I wonder what that's about. Like a power grab? I don't care. I don't care about, it's Faisal of Saudi Arabia happened in 75. Antecedently on this day in 2006, the Capitol Hill massacre occurred. A gunman killed 6 people before taking his own life at a party in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood. This is on this day in 2006. This is messed up. This is the guy. I don't even remember this one. I do. This is the rave. Okay. I know it's a little misleading because Capitol Hill massacre, you just think some dude, like when I saw it titled as that, I was like, wait, no, I don't remember a massacre on Capitol Hill. Oh, not the Washington, D.C. Capitol Hill, but the Seattle, Washington Capitol Hill neighborhood. And this was a rave that was going on. And actually, it began as a rave. There was a rave happening, and all these people were partying. And between something like 4 and 6 in the morning, people started breaking off from the rave to attend a private after party at an apartment down the street. And this dude was invited. The dude here, what was his name? He was invited. He's just one of the dudes at the rave. He didn't know anybody. He showed up by himself, and he's just hanging out. And he got invited to this after party. So he's like, okay, I'll go to Kyle Aaron, 28-year-old Kyle Aaron. That reminds me of something my son said this weekend. And it's he didn't invent it. He just heard it and thought it was clever, but he doesn't know that people have been saying this for years and years. But he goes, Dad, you never trust anybody with 2 first names. And then I turn to him and I go, dude, you have 2 first names. You have 2 first names. And he's like, what? What do you mean? I had to explain to him, and he has 2 first names. Anyway, like his last name is also a first name. And he didn't know that. He's like, there's nobody, like my son's last name is a name that I don't publicize. So my son goes, there ain't nobody with that name. That's not somebody's first name. I go, dude, that is a very Jewish first name. That's why everybody thinks you're Jewish. He's like, nobody thinks I'm Jewish. I'm like, why do you have a problem with that? He's like, I don't have a problem with that, but you're just saying that people think I'm Jewish. And I'm telling you, nobody's ever thought I was Jewish. And I said, well, that's because you're in Texas. There's not a whole lot of Jewish people. But if you were in a different part of the country where there were a lot of Jewish people, they would think that you're one of them. a Jewish person. He's like, I didn't know that. And then I go, oh, really? So I posted, we went to Google and I started to type his last name, right? And all of a sudden, all of these, he's like, oh my God. He's like, so it is. I go, yeah, it's a very common name. So then, he said people with 2 first names. Anyway, Kyle Aaron also has 2 first names. He's 28 years old, and he's the guy that did the shooting. So he's at this. He shows up alone, doesn't know anybody to this rave. He's probably attractive because he was invited to an after party. And an ugly, weird creeper dude who shows up at a rave is probably not getting invited to a private after party. He's probably attractive. That's what I'm saying. And he goes, okay, I'll come to your party. And he goes to the party, the after party, and everybody says, like, he was quiet, but he seemed nice, and he was talking with people. Nobody thought he was weird. He seemed, but nobody knew him. Like, he wasn't with anybody. And he excuses himself, and he goes down to his car, and he gets a whole bunch of rifles and handguns, and he shows up back at the private party and just, here, I'll read it to you. On the evening of March 24, 2006, the Better Off Undead event was held at the Capitol Hills Art Center, which reported a maximum attendance of 350 throughout the evening. Last-minute invitee, Kyle Aaron Huff. A last-minute invitee, Huff did not personally know anyone at the after-party that he attended. He was quiet, but spoke pleasantly with everyone as the after-party progressed. Nobody recalled him leaving, and there was no altercation or belligerent behavior exhibited. Huff left the house and returned to his large truck parked nearby. From the truck, he retrieved a 12-gauge Winchester 1300 Defender pump-action shotgun with a pistol grip and a 40-caliber Ruger P944 semi-automatic handgun. He also gathered several bandoliers with more than 300 rounds of ammunition for the guns. On his way back to the after-party, he spray-painted the word "Now" on the sidewalk. Upon arrival, he shot the victims who were outside talking on the steps of the place. Then he walked in and began shooting people. Okay, there you go. That's all we need to know. Youngest person shot. Here, look at this. This is crazy. Remember, this happened at like 6 a.m. in the morning. The youngest person shot was Melissa China Doll Moore. She's 14. She's my son's age. She's 14. She's out there. She's out there at an after party after a rave. Susan Thorne was also killed. She was 15. And then the rest of them listed here. People dead. They're all, well, there's another 18-year-old, 20s, early 20s, the oldest being 32. The rave shooting. There was a big massacre at a rave. All right, let's do quarter 2, birthdays. I didn't like that segment. That segment sucked. I'm sorry. I just got into it. I'm like, I don't know why I'm so intrigued by the details of these things. Hold on. Wait a second. McDonald's just sent me in my McDonald's app. They're like, hey, you should buy something at McDonald's today. And I'm like, what do you got that's free? And then there was nothing free for me today. So moving on, how about we do some birthdays? Want 'em. They say it's their birthday. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not going to run around. I'm not going to run around and try and find their moms and stuff and go, is this really his birthday? Born on this day in 1918, Howard Cosell. God, geez, that guy. It's so weird that there is like a whole new sports universe that exists that doesn't include Howard Cosell. he was sports. He was sports in America. It's like he was the only guy. I mean, I know there were other, but nobody was bigger than, I mean, if you were a big sports guy in 1976, there was only one person you would talk to for a national audience anyway, and that was Cosell. Howard Cosell. All right, there you go. Born on this day in 1918. Born on this day in 1928. How about, was he a general? I thought he was a general. It doesn't say he's a general. He's calling him a captain. American captain, pilot, and astronaut. The great Jim Lovell. One of my favorites. If I had to do a pecking order of my favorite astronauts, Jim Lovell is like right up there. I've had occasion to hang out with Jim Lovell. I had lunch at a table with Jim Lovell. He's been a guest on like radio shows that I've done. I've gotten to just talk to him. I rode in a car with Jim Lovell. I love Jim Lovell. Who is Jim Lovell? Jim Lovell is who Tom Hanks portrayed in Apollo 13. Yeah, Jim Lovell saved the spacecraft. Dude is so badass. And he's not. He's so badass, but when I say badass, you think I'm describing Chuck Norris. No, he's not. He's not. He looks like a normal dude. He looks like your friend's grandpa. That's now. I mean, and when I know him. Actually, now he looks like the Crypt Keeper because I believe he's dead. Today's his birthday, though. No, he's not. Oh, yay! Isn't that great? Born on this day in 1928, Jim Lovell says that he's still alive. That's good. Probably still kind of looks like the Crypt Keeper, though. I mean, if we're being honest, right? He was, I mean, come on. You all saw Apollo 13, so you know what the mythology is of what he did. The reality is that he did way more. He did way more shit. He was so smart. He made so many decisions that saved the lives of everybody on that crew and got them back safely. Amazing, amazing American hero. Jim Lovell. How old is he? 96 years old. Too good to die. Too good to die. All right, let's see here. Who else is having a birthday today? Born on this day in 1934, Gloria Steinem. Gloria Steinem was a woman's rights, is dead. She's still alive too. Look at her. Gloria Steinem, still alive too. She's like 20 years older than my mom. That makes me feel good. Gloria Steinem, she was a hot chick who decided to, she was look, this is why Gloria Steinem became the name associated with ERA, because it was Gloria Steinem who got put on the news every day because Gloria Steinem was a hot chick. You know, you didn't see on the news every day, and you know who history hasn't remembered? Betty Friedan. Go ahead, take a look at Betty Friedan, because Betty Friedan was the other leader of the women's, movement and all that. Shirley Chisholm, I mean, we know about her, but that was a whole different thing. That was politics. But as far as the ERA went, it was like Betty Friedan and our birthday girl, Gloria Steinem. They were the two big ones. And actually, Betty Friedan was much bigger than Gloria Steinem. Betty Friedan, I think she wrote The Feminine Mystique, right? Is that her? Yeah. So like she was a big author. Feminine Mystique's a good book. All college men should read it. If they're trying to get laid, should probably read The Feminine Mystique to understand it. However, I found out that a lot of women didn't know what The Feminine Mystique was in the 90s, so it didn't really work, but it does kind of open up a window into how they think and what they want. And I don't know. Anyway, you got Betty Friedan. She's out there. She's like the boss of the women's movement. And then all of a sudden, she's got this other chick running around, and the news media was like, hey, Betty, you're great, but my God, you look like a thumb that's been through the windshield of a car. Who's the girl running around with the big glasses and the nice rack? And they're like, oh, that's Gloria Steinem. And then all of a sudden, Gloria Steinem becomes the spokesperson for the women's movement because she was someone that middle-aged men would want to have sex with. Which is sort of explains the whole women's movement and the battle that they were facing. Happy birthday, Gloria Steinem, born on this day in 1934, born on this day in 1942, one of the largest human beings I've ever stood next to, one of the most alarmingly large human beings I've ever stood next to. Happy birthday to the Queen of Soul, Aretha Frank, Aretha Franklin. There we go. Focus, man. Dial in, kid. You can do it. Aretha Franklin, one of the largest people I've ever stood next to. I've told this story before. It was at was in 92. Was the one in 90? I don't know when it was, like 92, somewhere in there. Democratic National Convention. I don't know, whenever in the 90s, the Democratic National Convention was held in Chicago. So I was doing all these interviews and I was in the locker room. I was in the lobby of the Hilton right there on Michigan Avenue. And there were a whole bunch of us in a waiting area. And all of a sudden somebody came through, and I still don't know who came through, but they had to sweep the lobby. They were like, everybody move. So it had to have been a president or maybe a former president, maybe Jimmy Carter. I don't know. I'm trying to think of who a former Democratic president at that time was. So maybe it was Jimmy Carter. I don't know. But they cleared the room. Everybody's got to go. And they pushed everybody momentarily into little rooms together. And I was shoved in a room with Aretha Franklin. She was big. I remember she was alarmingly large. She's just, I mean, like, not like, I don't know that we understand how big of a woman she was. First of all, I don't know about her height. I just know that she was wearing this giant mink jacket and she had her hair really big. She was just a freaking presence. She was like, whoa, that's the queen of soul, bitches. Still one of the largest people I've ever seen. And I'd been to Walmart's on Saturday. All right. Happy birthday. 1943, Paul Michael Glazier. That's right. Happy birthday to Starsky of Starsky and Hutch. Is Al telling me that Aretha Franklin was only 5'5"? Man, well, her hair probably made her 6 feet. She had like piled up hair, and like I said, she was wearing this gigantic full-length fur coat, and she looked like she's big. She looked like a bear. She's like a big, giant lady. But Aretha Franklin, whatever. No judgment. I'm just saying what I saw. I observed. Born on this day, Paul Michael Glazier. Born on this day in 1943. Starsky of Starsky and Hutch. Can we keep good thought for Starsky of Starsky and Hutch? He's dead. Is he dead? Apparently he's still alive. Good. He should be still alive. He was born on this day in 1943. God, man. Oh, what Starsky went through. Starsky went through some stuff. Paul Michael Glazier, Starsky of Starsky and Hutch. So do you know about the Elizabeth Glazier Foundation and how that's like the #1 AIDS AIDS charity in Los Angeles since like the early 1980s? I mean, all these huge events. The stars came out last night for the 15th annual Elizabeth Glazier Foundation, bro. You know, that kind of thing. Well, that's his wife. That's Starsky's wife. Elizabeth Glazier was Starsky's wife. And what happened to Starsky and his wife and his family, they were married and they were married and she was pregnant and something happened. She got sick or there was an accident and she got a blood transfusion. And this was in 1980 and the blood had AIDS. It was like one of the early AIDS cases, right? And she got it through a blood transfusion. They didn't know what it was. And she was pregnant and the baby had it and they didn't know. They were like, this is an undisclosed. And then it, of course, would reveal itself to be HIV and AIDS, and it exploded in her and she died. She died fairly quickly because they had no clue how to treat it. The baby died. You know, Starsky's baby died. And then the other son, there was another kid that because I think he caught it from her after she got the transfusion before, like he caught it from his mom and he's lived with it. Like he's old enough that he got it. He got the cocktail and all that kind of stuff. Just a terrible, terrible story. His family, Starsky's entire family was destroyed by AIDS. They got it like before it was the gay plague. You know, they got it before that. Just like probably a year before that all became a big thing. But man, what a terrible. And your baby gets it, and the doctors are like, we have no idea what we're looking at here. We have never seen these kinds of symptoms before. Happy birthday, Paul Michael Glazier, born on this day. Starsky, 1943. Born on this day in 1947, Elton John. This is a big one. He wins the day, right? That's of all the people we've said so far. I mean, I know Jim Lovell is my favorite birthday of the day, but you gotta go with Elton John as the biggest star. I think so. Happy birthday, Elton John. Caught my son watching Elton John and Eminem from the Grammy Awards or the MTV Awards. I don't know. Oh, God, that started a fight. That's why I don't know. He was watching it, and I go, oh, what are you watching there? That's from the MTV Awards. I remember that vividly. And my kid goes, it's from the Grammys, Dad. It's not from the MTV Awards. And then I don't know, I just didn't like his tone. I wasn't sure. I just thought it was in my mind, but you're probably right. He's sitting there watching it. But I don't know. I didn't like his tone. So I dug in and I was like, nah, shut up. Because that's how we talk. I'm like, nah, shut up. It was the MTV Awards. And he's like, no, it was the Grammy. And it just turned into a thing. I mean, it didn't go on forever, but he started yelling. It's like, I hate when you do this. You know you're wrong. And I'm like, I responded with, I hate when you do this. I just started doing that. I'm an infant. That whole thing ended with, me repeating everything that he said until he got to the point where he just ignored me and I went in the other room. That's how we communicate, me and my son. Happy birthday, Elton John. You provided that to us this weekend, a father and his son. Born on this day in 1965, Sarah Jessica Parker, SJP, as nobody calls her. I don't know, SJP. Was she ever called that? I don't know. Sarah Jessica Parker. What do I think about Sarah Jessica Parker? Couple of thoughts. One, Square Pegs. Great show. Square Pegs, Square Pegs. That's a Gen X show. It aired for 40 minutes back in 1981. But it starred Sarah Jessica Parker. It was the first time we ever saw her. And then what did she do? Then where did Sarah Jessica Parker go? Then maybe she started doing some teen movies. I don't think she's ever been associated with a John Hughes film, but I think she did some knockoff teen movies. And then I don't know. Oh, Steve Martin. I remember Steve Martin cast her when she was in her early 20s to play this sort of, muse that he was in love with. Steve Martin was this older weatherman. I forgot what that LA Stories, I think the movie's called. She was good in that. Then she got Sex in the City. And then that's who she became. And that's who she is. Sex in the City. Still don't like that show. Tried to watch it. Remember when I tried to watch Sex in the City? I was like, I'll give it a shot. And I watched half of the first season. And I'm like, yeah, this sucks. I'm not even remotely interested in these people's stories. All right, moving on. Born on this day in 1966. Don't you tell me the coincidences aren't real. This is legit, man. Born on this day in 1966. What are we going to do? We got a whole segment here at the end of the show where I'm going to talk about me and my kid watching Roadhouse. We're going to give our reviews. Old Roadhouse and new Roadhouse. Spent, talking about introducing my son to all the different characters that are in the original Roadhouse, like John Doe, who plays the bartender. I'm like, that's John Doe from X. And he's like, the band? Because I made him know who X is because I want him to know punk bands. So he knows the band X? I'm like, yeah, that's John Doe. And then he's like, is Exene in this? No, it's just John Doe. And he's like, oh, cool. I thought that was cool. And then this guy, the birthday guy. I haven't thought about this guy in 20 years until this weekend. I have a conversation with my son about him. And now here it is. It's his birthday. I'm mentioning his name. Ladies and gentlemen, born on this day in 1966, Jeff Healey. Remember Jeff Healey? The Jeff Healey band? That was the band in Roadhouse. That was the original band. They didn't do that. That wasn't one of the things that they replicated in the new Roadhouse. Like the old Roadhouse, one of the cool things was that Jeff Healey was the house band. And Jeff Healey was a big guy back in the 80s. He had a bunch of hit records and stuff. And, and then he's in Roadhouse and it's cool. He's a blind guy, played slide guitar. Very cool. They didn't do that in the new one. Got to be disciplined. I'll tell you all about the new Roadhouse at the end of the show. We'll talk about it. What song? I don't know. What song did Jeff Healey do? I kept going, in my head. Like, if you were to say, dude, name a Jeff Healey song, I'd be like, I know I'm no angel. But I know that's Greg Allman. Apparently, I make no distinction between Greg Allman and Jeff Healey. Moving on. Born on this day in 1967, a good friend of the old Pugs and Kelly show. A guy who, I don't know, after a couple of beers, I might describe as a good friend. But truth of the matter is, haven't even spoken to him in a decade. Have no idea. Used to be a friend, Doug Stanhope, celebrating a birthday today. Born on this day in 1967. Doug was great. One of the most fun things that I remember doing in our years and years of working with the Improv back when we were doing the Pugs and Kelly show on 105.3. There was two comedians got into a fight during Doug Stanhope week at the Addison Improv. Doug was the headliner. And so, and he was a big headliner. He sold out the rooms all the time, but the local comedians would just knife each other in the face to get on the bill. So there was a lot of competition to get on the bill. And two comedians who were on the bill with Doug Stanhope got into a fight. And one of the comedians beat up the other comedian right there on stage, just punched him right in the face. I'll give you a couple of names. Paul Varghese was the guy who got punched. So, yeah, who I talked about earlier. Paul Varghese got punched. And Sean, I can't think of his last name, was the guy who was doing the punching. So Doug Stanhope was on the show on Friday, and this had happened at the Thursday night show for the weekend. And Doug was like, yeah, man, they were fighting. And so we brought Paul in, I don't know if Sean was there, but we got his side of it. And we decided to do a bit at the Improv on Sunday night. So that, Doug Stanhope would do his Friday night show, his Thursday night show, his Friday night show, and his Saturday night show. And then Sunday, it's just kind of a lax show. It's not, sometimes they don't even do the Sunday show. But he's like, look, we got the stage on Sunday. Let's do this. So we had a court. We set up a court on the stage of the Improv for the Sunday night show, and we put the two comedians on trial. It was me, it was my partner Kelly, and it was Doug Stanhope. We listened to both stories, and they both pled their cases, and then they had to each do like 5 minutes of comedy, and then we would decide who the winner is and what should happen. I think the loser was banned from the stage forever or something like that. So here's what happened. So they both perform. And like I said, I already talked about Paul Varghese today being one of the best stand-up comedians here in North Texas. And the other guy, I don't even remember his name. He was a nice guy, but his name was Sean. He wasn't as good a stand-up comic as Paul Varghese. So they do their 5 minutes each. And the three judges were all looking at each other, and we were like, holy shit, that wasn't even close. Paul just crushed him. Every single one of us, myself, Kelly, and Doug Stanhope, all did the same thing. We all cast our vote for Sean. We all said that Sean was better than Paul. Why? Because we assumed that everybody was going to vote for Paul, and we didn't want Sean to get no votes because he was a good sport about it all. And so we all voted for Sean. We all gave a charity vote to Sean, thinking that nobody else would possibly vote for him. And he won. He won, and Paul was banned for a time from the stage. It didn't stick. It didn't stick because it was Paul Varghese. And they were like, yeah, we're not really going to ban him. I mean, if it was you, yeah, we would actually ban you. But, Paul's really good, so we're not going to ban him. Anyway, happy birthday, Doug Stanhope, old friend. Born on this day in 1982. How about Danica Patrick, race car driver? She was an attractive young race car driver. Did she ever win? I don't know. Born on this day in 1988. How about Ryan Lewis? Ryan McLemore and Ryan Lewis, producer. Ryan Lewis. There you go. Those are the birthdays. Let's move now into the deads. Let's talk about the people who have died on this day. Open up their life's resume and decide for ourselves whether they went to heaven or hell. Let's get into it. Dead on this day in 1992, Nancy Walker. You guys know who Nancy Walker is? Now, here's the thing. Nancy Walker, if you grew up watching well, here, I'll show you. You want to see who Nancy? I'll give you Nancy Walker. Nancy Walker was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. She was on Rhoda. She was on McMillan and Wife. Nancy Walker was on everything all the time. She was omnipresent in the 1970s. If you watch TV, and let me tell you, as a kid, I watched a lot of TV in the 90s. Nancy Walker, as common and familiar to you as, I don't know, your grandma. She was. But hold on. This is how I think. They're making me watch a commercial. I'm sorry. And it's not one I can skip. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right. So Nancy Walker is dead on this day. Boom. We got to decide if she's going to heaven or hell. There you go. You see her? All right. Here's Nancy Walker.
Oh, it surprised me, Joe. Get a little in your mouth. Your poor wife. How does she do it?
Maybe with a dish rag.
Oh, that's very funny. But she needs bounty. It's the quick picker.
There you go.
Look. Bounty here.
I don't even know what her name
Well,
was. Was her name Nancy in that? I don't know. I want to call her Madge. Nancy Walker. She was like a legitimate actress that everybody knew from legitimate roles that she took in TV shows and films since the 1940s. But she was a legitimate actress. And then also at the very same time that she had a successful, legitimate acting career, she was also like the most high profile commercial act. What I'm saying is this would be like if, Susan Sarandon was like, the waitress in a Cracker Barrel commercial today. You'd be like, wait, what? Okay. So Nancy Walker wasn't Susan Sarandon, but she was a very recognizable. It's weird. Wouldn't happen today is my point. Somebody who has had the career in scripted television and film that Nancy Walker, while that career is still thriving, she probably also wouldn't do. What kind of commercials do we? I don't even know because I don't watch commercials anymore. I don't even know. Are there commercials these days? Bottom line, we're putting Nancy Walker in heaven because she was a nice old lady in the 70s, and I was a little kid, and I thought that she was nice. She was Mrs. Morgenstern on Rhoda. Yeah. All right, we're putting her in heaven. Dead on this day in 1999, Cal Ripken Sr. We're putting him in hell. Cal Ripken Sr. was an old baseball man, and there's a lot of stories about him. He was a tough guy. Now, I'm not talking about Cal Ripken Jr. I'm not talking about Billy Ripken. I'm talking about the old man, Cal Ripken Sr. We're putting him in hell. Dead on this day. Let's open this one up. This one we're going to talk about. This dude is one of my favorite subjects, going all the way back to my college days. When I was in college, I used to blow people away with my breakdown of this person's career. Dead on this day in 2005, Paul Henning. That's right, Paul Henning. Paul Henning. Don't you mean Doug Henning? No, I don't mean Doug Henning. Doug Henning was the magician. Paul Henning is the creator of Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, and Petticoat Junction. That's Paul Henning. Loved his shows. His shows were, amazing. Why? Because there was shit going on in his shows that I don't know the normal people, I don't know the normal brains were picking up on, but Paul Henning did. And friends of his have written about it over the years, although it's not widely promoted as being something that is known to be his motivation. But Paul Henning was a communist. And if you watch the Beverly Hillbillies, Petticoat Junction, or Green Acres, you will see all of this Soviet propaganda. Now, it's not like Russia's better than America. No, that's stupid. That's bad propaganda. No. The point of all Paul Henning shows was that the working man has something good happen to him, and then here comes Mr. Banker guy to ruin it all. That's capitalism versus the good, kindly people of where was Green Acres? Where's Green Acres? He even had a character in Green Acres that hated being there, and she was a European monarch. She was like, I am the princess of the throne of Hungary, Oliver. That was like her whole bit. So he even had that in there. And then Oliver, he was the man. He was the rich. He represented capitalism. And he thought that the humble life of the rural man was for him. And he just thought it was so easy that he could do it. But that's Green Acres. And Petticoat Junction has stuff too. Dude, just look at the Beverly Hillbillies. The entire premise of the Beverly Hillbillies is Mr. Drysdale, the big capitalist banker, going to take all the money from Uncle Jed, the good, hardworking, decent folk who loves his family, who had something good happen to him. And here comes Mr. Banker Man, Mr. American capitalist, going to put the man to... Seriously. And there's a whole bunch of examples. Yes, I was probably high in college when I came up with this. But just as much as I believe in the Hollywood Clone Factory, I believe in this. Paul Henning. I'm putting him in heaven because those shows are amazing, and this is hysterical if true, because didn't really work. Like nobody watched the Beverly Hillbillies and went, oh, I can totally see the Soviet point of view. No, it wasn't that obvious. But all of those shows are about the working rural man being exploited by capitalism. That's what all of those shows are about. Paul Henning, dead on this day. Year of our Lord, 2005. We're putting him in heaven because I thought he was cool. Here's somebody else we're putting in heaven. Taylor Hawkins. Taylor Hawkins died on this day in 2022. It's already been 2 years since Taylor Hawkins passed away. He passed away on a Friday night. Taylor Hawkins, of course, drummer for the Foo Fighters. watched a basketball game with him because he was ignoring his girlfriend. I've told the story. I won't bore you with it, but he was dating Mimi Driver, the actress, and we're backstage at a concert. And we're all on the couch, and the Bulls were playing, and the Foo Fighters were in the basketball, and he didn't want to hang out with his girlfriend because he wanted to watch the game, and he was watching the game with the other Foo Fighters. That left me on the couch with an ignored Mimi Driver. So I got to explain to Mimi Driver what the Jordan Bulls of the 90s were, why it was, so what she was watching, why, because her boyfriend Taylor didn't really want to explain it to her. He was like, meh. Me, totally willing to. Even at that time, had a big crush on Minnie Driver. She was adorable. So I was like, I'll and she was talking like Minnie Driver, which, at the time she did a lot of American roles where like you mostly heard her like in an American voice. She had an Irish accent or something. She had like a lilt to it. I thought it was just so adorable. Not happy birthday. Sadly death day to Taylor Hawkins. Let's put him in heaven anyway, because he seemed like a happy guy. See, he's a golden retriever. Taylor Hawkins seemed like a golden retriever. Just, bouncing, happy, smiley, all that good stuff. All right, folks, that's going to do it. Those are the people who have died. We've gone through quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3 one more time. Let's say a big, hearty thank you to Tracy D. She's our executive producer of today's show. Tracy dropped the biggest tip of the day, and that's why she gets to be the exec PD. If you would like to drop or help the show out in any way, shape, or form, that would be great. Thank you so much. This show runs on your gratuities and has been doing so for about 2.5 years, coming up on 3. All right, let's transition. All right, here we go. Now it's time. Quarter 4. Rubber hits the road. Meat and potatoes, as they say. Let's talk about all the things that are happening in the world today. What are people discussing? The big story, straight off the top of the deck, Trump. He's in New York City. He was in a courtroom. You know the rule here. Trump is a news story. To get into details would bore me to tears, and I have no interest in talking about it. But apparently this is about the money that he owes New York for findings that he was held responsible for. He owes $1 billion. Whatever he owes, I don't know. I don't care, because I don't let this shit rule my life. I don't give a shit about this guy's money problems. Anyway, I guess they gave him 10 more days. There you go. You get 10 more days. And look, don't be like, the rich guy is getting a 10-day extension. No, it's not because he's a rich guy. Look, all poor people, myself included, we all know. And just because there's a deadline, that doesn't mean that it's over. Everybody will get a couple of more days. So this should be expected. I would think that it's, rigged against him if he wasn't granted an extension or a deadline. 10 days to come up with $175 million. Should be easy. I mean, he says he's worth $11 billion. That should be way easy. So good for you, Trump. We'll see. Or maybe $175 million is just easier for the RNC to come up with. I don't know, but we'll see. Boeing, the CEO of Boeing, Dave Calhoun, has stepped down. He says, no more. I can't do this anymore. He became the CEO just a couple of years ago in the wake of remember the last problems they were having with the 737 MAX 8? I think that's what it was. So that former CEO of Boeing, that plane couldn't stay airborne. Actually, I don't remember what the problem was with that. But whatever, the problem led to the former CEO of Boeing to go, screwed up the MAX 8. I'm outie. And he was gone. And then this dude, Dave Calhoun, he shows up. He showed up like, well, there were a lot of mistakes made and good thing you got me. And now he's out because he sucks at it too. I don't know what's going on. 737 MAX crisis drives Dave Calhoun to step down at Boeing. He's not leaving immediately though. So that's good. He's going to collect a few more paychecks. He's got yacht payments. Come on, you can relate. What else do we have happening today? Oh, Russia. Over the weekend, there was a terrible, terrible incident that occurred in Russia. A bunch of people went to a concert. A bunch of dudes from ISIS showed up and gang. Only in America. Stop it. Russia actually has shootings. Russia has shootings like we have. Not to the extent. But Russia, and always, their shootings are always from like some, it's always because of, well, I'm trying to think. Ours are almost always because people are crazy. The horrible Russia shootings that they have or situations, I don't know, it always comes from like the Balkans, like they're mad about something, and they have a right to be. I'm just saying I'm not smart enough to really give them their due about all of their complaints. But this was I don't know. I don't even know. What was this? 111 people. Jesus, could you imagine that? What was this about? Is this about Gaza? Because I don't know that Russia's all that directly involved with the whole Gaza thing. And I thought Russia was kind of on the side of Gaza or something. I don't know. Let's see what it says here. I watched raw footage of this. It was trending over the weekend, and it's just, I got like 30 seconds into like an 8-minute video, and I'm like, nope, no, I'm done. I don't need this in my life. Vladimir Putin has scrambled to save face by casting fresh doubt on ISIS, claiming responsibility for the Moscow concert massacre. See, he wants to put it on the Ukrainians. That's what he's trying to do. He's like, well, this. Wait, that was French. I went French. First, we get moose and squirrel. How do I talk Russian? Russian, I got to get into Russia by doing Boris and Natasha. Putin wants to blame the Ukraine. I mean, like ISIS did it. ISIS, like official ISIS channels are showing pictures of the dudes. They're like, we did it. Look what we did. ISIS. So it's like ISIS did it. But that doesn't really help Putin. He don't know what to make of that. What would help Putin is if he could sell it to everybody that the Ukrainians did this, that this is what them Yukis are all about. But I don't know if he's selling that. But Vladimir Putin has scrambled to save face by casting fresh doubt on ISIS, claiming responsibility for the Moscow concert massacre that killed nearly 140 people. That's terrible. The deadliest attack on the nation's soil in years. 2 of the 4 ISIS terrorists who were charged overnight with terrorism have pled guilty. Okay, so they even got people in custody who are known members of ISIS. And they're like, yeah, we did it. Hold on, what did they pled? They pled guilty. Oh, you should see this. Here, I had some crazy pictures of how. So these guys all pled guilty after having jumper cables attached to their nuts. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Here, I'll show you these pictures because the Russians are hardcore, man. They don't have any morals. They don't have any kind of principles about how humanity should treat humanity. They just attached jumper cables to some dude's nuts and then said, "Did you do it?" And then the dude was like, "Yes." I mean, I don't know. I'm one of those guys that thinks, I know me. I would admit to anything if they were jumper cables attached to my nuts. That's just me. So, but whatever. Here, let me show you these pictures. Crazy pictures. Hold on, we're gonna have to wait for this nonsense to download, I bet. Cool. Pop-ups. Stupid Daily Mail. It's such a trash site. All right, so here's a picture. This is a dude getting his balls. Check this out. Look at him. There he is. He's on the ground. He's got his pants around his neck. See this? Let me show you some stuff here. I'll point out what's going on here. First of all, that's the look of a man having his testicles shocked by a two-way radio. And that's what this is. This is a two-way radio. And all they do is they make one quick little change in the back of it, and then they hook one end up to his nuts, and they shock him. So this guy admitted to whatever the hell they wanted him to admit to. The point is this. They got these known ISIS people, and they're pleading guilty. So there's one part of the justice system in Russia that is focusing on what actually happened and the people that they caught and the guys that they know did it, and those guys are ISIS. And but then there's the other part of it where the president is going, ISIS didn't do it. Again, why? Because that doesn't help his cause. If the people think this is what if people think this is what the Yukis are up to now, then that's going to help his side. But I don't think that's going to work. Who was playing? What was the concert? Anybody know? Terrible story. Let's see. France is raising its security alert to the highest level possible. It's the first time in 137 days. No, I'm sorry. That's 137 dead people. It's the first time in 1,000 days. I don't know. I can't read this. Doesn't matter. France is now in the wake of the Moscow attacks. They have raised their terror alert. Most of the major cities in Europe. Berlin under extremely high, London under extremely high, France, all of these places. I don't know about Rome. Rome, people got a problem with Rome. They did. I mean, for thousands of years, people had a problem with Rome, but not really so much in the last 50. In the last 50, it's like Italy. But yeah, so France is on edge. France thinks that they will be next for ISIS getting involved now in what is ISIS's beef with Russia? Is it the same? Do they have the same look? Are they equal opportunity haters? Like, do they just hate everybody that has power? So they hate us. AIDIS hates us. ISIS hates us because we're the imperialists, colonizers, or whatever. They hate UK because, I don't think they make a distinction between us and the United Kingdom. But Russia, it's like, why do you hate Russia? Isn't Russia friends with, do you guys hate China? Does ISIS hate China? I would think they would. All right, moving on. And ISIS, what are we done? I thought we were done with ISIS. I thought that was over with. Just keep whack-a-mole. I'm telling you, they say it's whack-a-mole. Supreme Court of the United States is going to make a ruling on the abortion pill. I can't pronounce it. Misoprovolone. Where's Mr. Provolone? That's what we're going to call it. Mr. Provolone is the abortion pill. Abortion, no more abortion. Spread them, baby. Snip, snip, and all of that. Ooh, how horrible. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So we can't do that. I get that. Fine. No, I mean, not fine, but okay, that horse is out of the barn. I'm going to leave it to other people to try and get that thing back in its corral. But the abortion pill, this is one that I don't get. This seems like this is just a pill that is this like the morning after pill? Because that's the best one, right? So if there's a pill like the very morning, although our crazy, Christian people are going to be like, that little droplet that hasn't been fertilized yet is still like, when are they going to start coming after our whack off socks? Like, at what point are they going to be like, that sock is like 1,000 dead babies? Or this is stupid. This is a pill. This isn't on some practical level, I understand the gruesomeness of the abortion. Of the legs and the stirrups and all that. That's very, but the pill, the pill just seems like, come on. I don't know. I do not foresee a time where I will have any sort of need ever again for this kind of concern, but here we go. Okay, let me tell you what the Supreme Court's going to have to deal with here. The Supreme Court will decide the future of the abortion pill. The fate of the abortion pill lies with the Supreme Court. The High Court, which has a conservative supermajority, holds, by the way, been a supermajority for a few years now. Is everything great? I mean, the people isn't everything supposed to be great? Wasn't that the deal? If we could just get, a supermajority, then everything's going to be great. I mean, you got your abortion. They did that. Everything seems like shit, and I don't really blame the Supreme Court for that. But I'm just saying, you got your supermajority. How come you control Congress? How's it going? Controlling Congress? I'm talking to the crazy far right people. How's Congress going? You're running that into the ground, you dumb fucks. The High Court, which, by the way, and I'm not advocating for the lefts to be in charge either. Litter boxes in every schoolroom. We have that. Come on, that's a bit disingenuous because that's not even a real story. There was never a litter box in a classroom. But you know what I mean? Look, the crazy lefties, they're capable of doing shit that's just going to drive me fucking nuts. Oh, so punchable faces. So many punchable faces over there. Just, ugh. Yeah, the other side, not so much punchable faces. Scary fucking motherfuckers that we need to keep an eye on. That's all I'm saying. Those are like the two. That's what we're dealing with, the two extremes. Once again, that's not who we are. We're in the middle. We're normal. We're Americans. We're just right here doing our thing. We're not the weirdo who everything boils down to. That's because of Biden. Dude, I'm talking about the price of tires here. I couldn't believe that this used tire would be that much. Well, it's Biden's America. Stop it, okay? Stop defaulting to some political narrative first. It's so gross. It says a lot about you, too. In a lawsuit brought after the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade in 2022, a federal judge in Texas ruled to suspend the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's approval of mifepristone. I'm going to try. I'm not a bright guy, but I'm going to try and pronounce this word. Mifepristone. Stone, that's stone. Mifepristone. I got it. All right, mifepristone. So the Food and Drug Administration approved mifepristone. It's one of two pills used in most medicated abortions. The drug is still fully available while the Supreme Court deliberates. Medication abortion accounts for nearly 2/3 of all U.S. abortions. This according to 2023 data from the. Well, wait, aren't they illegal? I don't even know, man. I don't even know. I mean, like, I think they're illegal. Like, if I was in a voting booth right now, like, and they're like, which way are you going to vote? I'm going to vote, like, thinking that abortions are illegal. Are they illegal federally? Like, aren't there states with abortions? It's just that it's all right for certain states, right? That's what the abortion ruling was. The abortion ruling was that if you're a state that doesn't want abortion, you don't have to have it. So abortion is still legal, like, you know, in Connecticut and, you know, California, if you will. All right. So what's this about? Getting the abortion pill sent to you in Texas? Okay, whatever, the Supreme Court. They're going to have to deal with this. They're going to, you know, and those people, that's what they make the big bucks for. I don't want to think one more second on that subject until November. That's one of my big voting things this November. And I think there's a lot of people who also have that issue in their head when they go and vote this November. Ronna Romney McDaniel. I'm going to mention her name, Romney McDaniel, because boy, oh boy, she fucking just ditched her family as quick as she could. Soon as Mitt Romney, her uncle, who basically is responsible for her entire career in politics and why she rose at a relatively young age to be the boss of the grand old party, she ditched him. As soon as Trump decided that he didn't like Mitt Romney, she was like, I'm dropping my name. She used to be Ronna Romney McDaniel. Then she dropped the Romney. So she is spineless. She has no courage. She has no convictions. Therefore, she has no courage of her convictions. Yikes. Spam calls. Are you guys getting a lot of political calls? Ugh. So Ronna Romney McDaniel has been kicked out of the GOP. She's like, all of that. She ditched her uncle, you know, and then still Trump was like, hey, I think you should go. My daughter-in-law, who used to be a stripper, is now going to, I don't know if she used to be a stripper, but, you know, she certainly doesn't have any qualifications that, I don't know that Ronna McDaniel did either. But whatever. The point is, it's kind of funny that he's just putting his people in there. Like was she was like an influencer, and now suddenly she's in charge of the GOP, but whatever. That's fine. She's just, you know, she's a vassal state for, I guess, the Trump campaign. They are now 100% in charge of the GOP, and somebody who dominates their party to that degree probably should be this influential within the party. So, okay, I get it. But Ronna Romney McDaniel has been hired by NBC News. And the people at NBC News, like all of the, I'm a journalist, they all got serious problems with this because she's not a very reputable person. She has, you know, she's been one of the chief gaslighters. You know, she was just all those things. Look, man, she just did some things that she knew was wrong. And now that she is out of there, she's kind of explaining why she lied about all that stuff and how, yeah, I was lying, but, you know, that's just how we got to do. So watch this. She's just, hold on. Where is she? I can't find it. You know what? Do we really need this? Oh, you know what? Okay, this is a dumb clip anyway, but whatever. All right, this is her now talking about how the election, she's the head of the GOP, who for the last couple of years was out there gaslighting everybody with the whole, the election was rigged, the election was stolen January 6th, those people are hostages, you know, that whole thing. And now she's out of there and she's on TV going, yeah, none of that's true. Yeah, I'm fully convinced that it was a legal election. And those people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th should be in prison. Now, here's the question. Well, which is it? Which is it? Which one do you believe? Do you believe what you said for the past 3-4 years as head of the GOP, or now that you're no longer head of the GOP, now you're standing in front of, the news meeting, you're going, well, here's what I really think. Which is it? See, because the problem isn't that you changed your mind. The problem is that you have no ethical consistency. There is you have no credibility. I mean, forget about ethical consistency. So that's why people at NBC are so pissed off. Where's the video? I can't find the video. She was on Meet the Press yesterday. Here's what she said. At the end of the weekend, former Meet the Press moderator Chuck Todd attacked his own network for hiring McDaniel as a paid political analyst, saying there's a reason a lot of journalists at NBC News are uncomfortable with this. Then going into how she led the charge in gaslighting and character assassination when dealing with the news media as a pro-Trump election denier. But the same day that Chuck Todd said this, McDaniel admitted in a pre-recorded interview on NBC News' Meet the Press that she does, in fact, believe that Biden won. He won, she says. This is a quote. He won. He's the legitimate president, fair and square. He won. It's certified. It's done. But I do think it's fair to say there were problems in 2020, she said to host Kristen Welker. As Newsweek points out, Welker stated prior to Sunday's interview that, in full disclosure to our viewers, this interview was scheduled weeks before it was announced that McDaniel had become a paid NBC News contributor. Please. This will be a news interview, and I was not involved in her hiring. I thought there was video here. The video seems to be taken down. Anyway, it's just video of her from that saying the opposite of what she had said over and over. Just the opposite. How convenient for these fucking people. How convenient. They're all monsters. Both sides, people. Both sides. Don't think that, by the way, if you're claiming her, if you're feeling like you want to defend Roma McDaniel or whatever because she's been the head of the party that you think is going to save America, come on, she's a clown show. And I'm just exhausted that I have to just like the other side, but we do. We got to point out that both of these sides are big freaking colleges of con men. That's what it is. I just hate Rona Romney McDaniel. I hate her. I hate what she did to her uncle. And I remember there was a video or something of, somebody going up to Mitt Romney when he was still in the Senate. Isn't he like a lame duck or something? Is he gone? Whatever. He was still there and they went up to him and somebody said, what do you think of your niece dropping Romney? And he just went, because he had been under fire from that side. And he just kind of looked, he didn't say anything because, although I didn't vote for Romney, he seems like a decent guy. I mean, he didn't say anything, but you could just see he's like, man, what people are willing to do. Anyway, how about Kim Mulkey? Can we talk about this chick? Kim Mulkey. I don't know who this girl is, but I've had hold on, sorry. I'm having a little bit of trouble here. Kim Mulkey. I don't know who this woman is, but she was dominating my timeline over the weekend. And it turns out, there's a reason I don't know who she is, because she's a girls basketball coach at LSU. I don't know who that is. But here, let's play this. I want to show you this. Because again, this is another one. And this isn't political. This is just some bitch. This is how we communicate now in 2024. This is the level of duplicity. This is gaslighting. This is saying something that everyone knows isn't true or admitting something isn't true and then saying the direct opposite immediately following it. Listen to what she says. Now, this is about the Washington Post, who has apparently been working on a story on the LSU basketball coach, Kim Mulkey, for a couple of years, of which she admits. Okay, hold on. So let's listen to this. First, let's do her statement. This is, again, the Washington Post has a story apparently about this woman. Oh, God. And I just can't. This woman, I'm looking at her. She is every Highland Park bitch that I hate. She looks like a Karen. She acts like a Karen. She does this. Oh, she sucks. I don't know anything about this one. I don't know her history. Is she a polarizing figure? I don't know. She's the head coach of LSU women's basketball. I don't know dick about that. I don't know anything about the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm supposed to know about the women's LSU team. Oh, here you go. So she's trying to head the Washington Post story about her off at the pass. She's doing a press conference. She's going to do all those things that we do now. Blame the media, gaslight, whatever it is. So here she is. This is why she went viral over the weekend. Kim Mulkey. Just look at this woman. I hate this woman. This woman sucks. This is a bitch. Ugh. Just look at her. She's a monster. Got the haircut. She's got the Karen haircut. She's got the glasses. She's just fucking complaining about if she wasn't the head coach at LSU, she would be out in her yard just complaining about everything. That's what she seems like to me. Here she is.
Reporter has been working on
we got to listen to this because this is important. We got to listen to what she said.
This reporter has been working on a story about me for 2 years.
This reporter has been working on a story about me for 2 years. This is how she opens it. So it's been 2 years, 2 whole years that he's been working on this story.
2 years has been working on a story about me for 2 years.
2 years.
After 2 years of trying to get me to sit with him
After 2 years of him trying to get her to sit with him, 2 years he's been trying to get her to sit down for an interview. For 2 years, he's been saying, look, you want to sit down because I've got these charges and I'm going to print this and I would really love to give you an opportunity to give your side of it. For 2 years. That's what she is admitting to right here. It is extraordinarily important, people, for you to commit that to your memory and understand that for 2 years, this guy has been blowing up her phone going, can we do an interview? Can we do an interview? For 2 years. It's incredibly important. Let's start it again.
This reporter has been working on a story about me for 2 years. After 2 years of trying to get me to sit with him for an interview, he contacts LSU on Tuesday as we were getting ready for the first round game of this tournament with more than a dozen questions, demanding a response by Thursday, right before we're scheduled to tip off.
Oh.
Are you kidding me?
Okay, so she is not going to do this interview because what? It's the weekend of the Final Four or whatever it is. I don't know how far the women are in, but you're purposely. She's trying to spin it like they're trying to purposely disrupt her from being able to coach her team. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? You're giving me a deadline of Thursday. She is presenting this like out of the blue. First time they asked for an interview was like the weekend before the NCAA tournament. And now she's getting mad. Are you kidding me? You're telling me that you just admitted that they've been trying to get an interview with you for 2 fucking years. 2 years, she says in the beginning. For 2 years, they've been trying to get an interview with me. And now they're going to come to me and say that, well, you've got till Thursday. She's making it sound like they're ambushing her. They're making it sound like these journalists are disreputable. When anybody who does a 2-year investigation and she freely admits that they've been trying to get her to sit down is not disreputable. That sounds like somebody who's trying to put the full story together. She admits herself for 2 years, they've been trying to get her to sit down. Why haven't you sat down for 2 years? At some point, Kim, the story has to go to press. And at that point, they're going to say, okay, I've been trying to get you to sit down for an interview for 2 years. And you've been saying no. You haven't been returning our calls. This is it. Here's the final chance. We're going to press. Come on. Just because she won't respond or just because she won't make herself available to respond does not mean that it's a one-sided story. She admitted that she hadn't talked to him for 2 years, knowing full well what they were trying to get her side of it. And now she's going to say, they're not going to let me give my side because I'm more committed to coaching these girls. My God. I fucking hate this woman. I hate her. Let's listen to it again. I don't know anything about her other than this.
This reporter has been working on a story about me for 2 years. After 2 years of trying to get me to sit with him for an interview, he contacts LSU on Tuesday.
After 2 years.
As we were getting ready for the first round game of this tournament.
Oh my God, bad timing.
With more than a dozen questions.
Mm-hmm. that he's been asking for
demanding
2
a
years.
response by Thursday, right before we're scheduled to tip off.
Should have
Are you
answered
kidding me?
19 months ago.
This was a ridiculous deadline that LSU and I could not possibly.
A ridiculous deadline that she's had knowledge of for 2 years. This is arch duplicity on display right here. She's a victim. They gave me these questions and said that I had to answer them by, my God, we're in the NCAA tournament. Dude, you had 2 years. 2 years.
Meet. And the reporter knew it. It was just an attempt to prevent me from commenting and an attempt to distract us from this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't gonna work, buddy.
Oh, it ain't gonna work, buddy. Oh, fuck you. I hate this woman. I despise this woman. That is not what happened at all. They've been doing this investigation for 2 years. They've been asking you to sit down for an interview for 2 years, and they're gonna release it. You know why they're gonna release it this time of year? Because people are interested in you this time of year. 2 years they've been putting this together. This isn't a coincidence. They're not like, hey, let's fuck up Kim Mulkey's day by releasing this just when she's doing the tournament. No, it's being released because of the tournament. Okay, you've had 2 years. Fuck. I am sick and tired of that kind of duplicity, that kind of outright evil manipulation of the truth, gaslighting. If you're a moron, and I have to imagine anybody supporting her is a moron. So if you're a moron and you're sitting there watching your hero with the cool Karen haircut go, not in my time, buddy. You're watching her do that. You're going, yeah, that reporter, kill all the media because they're all just, they just want to ruin LSU's women. Who the fuck? I know I'm ranting. It's been a crazy morning. I'm ranting. Yeah, I know. She used to be the coach at Baylor. And she's a good women's basketball coach. She said, I don't know. Apparently, she's good women's basketball. Look, they're not going to do the Washington Post. It's not going to do an expose on just some also ran women's basketball, right? And so I know that. I know she's probably good. God, does she seem like she sucks? It just angers me. It angers me as somebody who has done stories, who has worked and tried to get guests, tried to get people to confirm things, and you call and you call and you call, and then they never respond. And then finally you give them the final notice. You say, look, we're going to print. This is when it's going to air. We would love to have you offer a comment on this. And that's when they call and they go, wait a second. You can't just say that. You can't just demand that I answer. No, dude, I've been calling for weeks. You've had opportunities for weeks. It didn't have to be this close to the deadline. You chose it by slow rolling me, or that's what she's doing. I hate this. But again, it feeds that narrative of the awful media not doing their job. Her whole thing there was that this is a hatchet piece by somebody who shouldn't be allowed to work in journalism. That was her whole argument, that they're setting her up. This is personal against her. Well, maybe it is personal against you. Maybe you've done some really fucking bad shit, and we're all about to hear about it. And I think that's probably the case, because there is no reason for her to be that aggressively victimized. And that was a victim right there. No, not here, buddy. But no, buddy. It's, oh, fuck you. Washington Post is about to burn your entire empire down, you stupid bitch. I know I'm getting a little bit high strung today. Why is it? I don't know. Maybe I need a gummy. All right, let's move on. Kim Mulkey. I've got her quotes here, but we don't need her quotes because we just watched all of that stuff. Come on. Sorry. My computer's now. Hey, you got your Powerball and your Mega Millions? Crazy times tonight. Powerball. This is the biggest dual drawing in the history of the lottery, or at least I saw something like that on the news today. So what is Powerball's at, like $1 billion, and Mega Millions is at like $1 billion? That's a rough estimate. I think one of them is at like 900 million and the other one's at like 1.2 billion. Whatever it is, we got a Powerball and we got a Mega Millions. Let me see what they say. I'll give you the exact numbers because, let's see here. Powerball and Mega Millions jackpots now at a combined $1.93 billion. Well, nobody's winning both. I I got my tickets. I bought both. And when I was out today, because we were late, because the show started late. That's why it's 3:00 and we're still going. The show started late today. One of the things I did was I bought my Powerball and my Mega Millions. So thank you. If I win, we're all rich. Everybody in the chat room right now, look, if I win like $1 billion, look, here's my promise. Everyone in the chat room right now will be rich. Everyone in the chat room right now will get at least $10 million. What? I don't know how many are in the chat room. Look, the regulars will get more. Taranda's getting more. Our executive producer of today's show, Tracy D, she's getting more. But most of you can expect at least $10 million. That's how I roll. And then we'll keep doing the show. Except we'll keep doing the show, but we'll just make it bigger and it'll look more expensive. And like, I'll pay for like, bookers and guests. It'll be crazy. It'll be nuts. I'll have billboards. I'll put it all. I'll show you. All I need is to win the Mega Millions first. Let's be honest. I probably won't do that either. I'll probably figure out a way to be able to do streams from wherever I am. And I'll just travel. I'll just go places. That's the idea. Like I always think that. Like I think that's what it's going to be. But it's probably not. I think I'll travel if I win tonight's Mega Millions or Powerball. I'll travel for like a period of time, but then I'll get tired of that real quick. I'll be like, because it doesn't matter how much money you have. It's still about what makes you comfortable. You know what makes me comfortable? Sitting on a reclining chair watching TV at 8:00 at night, and I don't need to be in Dubai to enjoy that. And I can do that here. Be sure to get your tickets. The Powerball and the Mega Millions Powerball jackpots are now at a combined $1.9 billion. The lottery prizes swelled after no tickets matched all 6 numbers in drawings on Friday and Saturday night. The Mega Millions jackpot grew to $1.1 billion, and the Powerball jackpot rose to $800 million. The prizes were $977 million and $750 million, respectively, on Wednesday night of last week. All right. Doing that thing. I bought Powerball tickets on Friday. Bought one thing of Powerballs on Friday. I don't know why I do this. I've told you about this, you guys. This is how, oh God. Never gotten into this in therapy. This would be an interesting one that I'd like to talk about with my therapist. I need to find out why I am so hope driven, why I'm so dependent on the prospect of hope. So what I will do is I will purchase a Powerball ticket, and then I'll just take that ticket and I'll throw it in a drawer. I'll never check the numbers. I will never check the numbers. And here's why. I've also been like, sometimes like at Christmas or, on your birthday, a buddy will be like, hey, I got you some scratch offs. I will take those scratch offs and I will put them in a drawer. I'll put them in a drawer with the other ones, with the Mega Millions or Powerball tickets that I've not looked at. I have no idea. Here's what I think. First of all, if I buy a Powerball ticket that wins me like $1 billion from like the Speedway in my neighborhood, I'm pretty sure that before I even have to check it, I'm gonna hear that my Speedway won. I'm going to hear that. That's going to be a story, right? It's going to be, and I'm going to look at it. I'm going to go, oh, fuck, that's my Speedway. Then I'll go check the ticket. But here's why I don't look at the numbers. Here's why I don't sit there with, because as I said, oh my God, I'm a cocaine cartel level hope trafficker. I need there to be a chance. This is why I have the scratch off tickets. Just need there to be a chance. As long as there is a scratch off ticket in there that hasn't been proven to be a dud, could be a winner. And I know that sounds weird and I don't actually expect it to be a winner, but those are just the tiny little things of hope that, I have to create. Otherwise, depression is a very fucked up thing, man. You have to have hope. You have to have something. And I've got a lot of hope. I mean, a lot of it has to do with my son and all of that kind of stuff. So, those are nice. But the little crazy things that I do, like I will not look at lottery tickets, because as long as I haven't found out conclusively that I didn't win the Powerball on Friday, as long as I haven't found that out, there's still a chance I did. And that's good. That's like, whoa, there's something to live for. Oh, man, I'm so messed up. You people. Don't check them. I don't check them. I don't care. And again, I feel fairly, indemnified by the idea that if my local speedway sells $1 billion lottery ticket, I'll hear about it. Next time I go in there, you go into your local speedway probably 5-6 times a week for whatever. So I'll go in there at some point, and I'm sure someone will tell me Shakia is this one lady who I like there. Shakia. I call her Shaq Mama, and she's very nice. She's gonna tell me. If I go in there and like the night, she's gonna be like, "Oh my God, did you hear about?" And I'm gonna be like, "No, tell me what happened." Shaq Mama, and then I will run home, and I will check my tickets, but only then. Anyway, there you go, folks. If you're looking for a win, and you aren't like me, and you actually will check your tickets. Tonight, there's a drawing. Mega Millions and Powerball. Crazy big drawing. Let's see here. That bird is singing out my window, making some very weird bird singing noises. What else do we have here? Powerball, Mega Millions. Kevin Hart. They gave Kevin Hart a Mark Twain Prize. Apparently that happened over the weekend. Kevin Hart, Mark Twain Prize. I don't get it. Like the Mark Twain Prize, when I think of people who've won the Mark Twain Prize is the national award. It's kind of like we don't have like night ships here. We don't have like, so you are now Sir Lord. We don't have that stuff, but we do have these prizes that these congressional government prizes. The Mark Twain Prize, entertainment or comedy or storytelling is comedy. I don't know what it is, but when I think about the Mark Twain Prize, I think about Richard Pryor, who received it when he was in the throes of MS. That was amazing. I think about George Carlin, who received it. Jerry Seinfeld has received it. Anyway, Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's there. Kevin Hart is ready. I mean, this is no shade to Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's a wildly, wildly successful comedian. But does he have like the longevity of like when I think of someone being awarded a national prize for a career spanning, I think it's like 40, 50 years. I think it's like Pryor. I think it's like, for instance, I'll give you an example. When they showed like the career of George Carlin when he was receiving his Mark Twain Prize, it started with black and white footage of him in a suit, on like the Ed Sullivan Show. And then it moved all the way through the decades to like him doing Carlin on campus in the late 80s. So it was like, yeah, that's the body of work that you absolutely want to bestow with a Mark Twain Prize. But like Kevin Hart, like, hasn't he only been around for like 10, 15 years? And that's great. And he's a monster. And he's one of the biggest of the era that he exists in. But I would just say that if Kevin Hart were to get a Mark Twain Prize, maybe it should have been 20 years from now. It just seems like here's why. You want to know the ugliness of it? Okay, because I think the Mark Twain Prize is now a commodity. Like it used to be, all of these national awards used to be on PBS, and nobody watched PBS. Like in the 70s and all that stuff. These things went on, the National Honors and Arts and all that kind of stuff. That was all PBS stuff. But now I think it's on like CBS. I think now they got it on a network, and now I think they're selling commercials. So they need to award people that they know people will tune in for. And is that like sort of lessening what the Mark Twain Prize is? Because as I said, I always thought it was something for just the absolute apex of the entertainment business in America, or culture, entertainment culture, whatever it was. Kevin Hart, hey, good for him, man. I'm not a hater. It seems very young. I'd be interested to see, is he the youngest person ever to receive a Mark Twain? These dudes who receive the Mark Twain Award are supposed to not be able to give a speech. They're supposed to be like in the booth, they have the opera balconies. They're supposed to be like in a wheelchair, in an opera box. And, when they raise enough energy to put their hand up, the crowd goes nuts. It's not supposed to be Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart probably did a strong 20-minute set in lieu of his thank you for making me a Mark Twain Prize recipient. Okay, here you go. All right, let's talk about this. Hey, how about it? So this is coincidental, but this was a story that is trending today. Where did I pull this out? Who wrote about this? But I wanted to mention it because wow. Wow. You know, I get excited. I get excited when I see something, when I watch something on television or see something on Netflix that I like. And, you know, I get excited about it. Yeah, so I think that there's something new that I really like that I'm like, wow. Fell into it by accident last night. And I accidentally hit play. I didn't mean to hit play. I meant to hit go back, but I hit play and it started spinning and I'm like, okay, whatever. So I just let it play for a couple of minutes and I started watching and I'm like, okay, I'm sort of interested. I mean, it looked sort of interesting. So maybe I'll watch the first 5 minutes. Boom. I watched the first 3 episodes last night. I didn't even watch Curb last night. I just watched 3 episodes of this. So I went to sleep. I'm like, wow, that's kind of a mind-bending show. Yeah, no, I haven't said the name of the show yet. Don't worry. That's because I wake up this morning and I see that there's a big story about this show. And I'm like, oh, I got to read this. All right, so here's the problem. The show is brand new on Netflix. And by the way, you want to talk about a pedigree, okay? This is the new show from David Benioff and Dan Weiss. Benioff and Weiss. Oh, does that sound familiar to you? Because they're the people who made Game of Thrones. These are the Game of Thrones dudes. These are the dudes who took weirdo George R.R. Martin's story and then turned it into this epic television series. So the pedigree is there. So I'm interested in that. It's called 3-Body Problem. I don't know if you've seen it. Netflix is really promoting it. They think there's a chance that it can be one of their new big hits. It debuted on Friday, I think is the day that it first showed up on Netflix. So this was its first weekend. I stumbled on it after I'd heard that it was, from the Game of Thrones guys. Somebody tweeted about it, a friend of mine in Chicago, and he's a TV reviewer, and he tweeted about it, and I respect him. And I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. And then I'm like, I'm totally down if this is the Game of Thrones people, and it was. So I started watching it. I don't know what it's about, you guys. I can't tell you what it's about. I'm not there. It's time travel, but also like parallel universes, and we're trying to contact aliens. And is it happening inside a video game, or is this actually, are they jumping to different timelines in the multiverse? It's a mind-blowing 3-Body Problem is what it's called. By the way, I was confused by the name too. I'm like, 3-Body Problem. What is this? A police procedural? What is this? A murder investigation? They found 3 bodies and that's a problem. Like, I don't know what the series is. It's not about that. 3-Body Problem is apparently a physics conundrum, which I was not aware of. But the 3 bodies in question in 3-Body Problems are 3 solar systems, 3 suns, 3 stars that have their own systems around them. So the 3-Body Problem, at least the way that it's presented in the show, 3-Body Problem, is the belief that we don't just revolve around our own sun, that we are actually stuck in the middle of 3 separate star systems. And we sometimes find ourselves, without anybody noticing, rotating around another sun. And that's in that era of time, while we're rotating around that sun that isn't our own, there is chaos. But then anyway, yes, mind-blowing. I can't explain it to you, but that's the title, 3-Body Problem. What is the source material? Apparently it's a very famous Chinese story, Chinese sci-fi story. It's Chinese Star Wars, or, it's like they wrote this, children in China have been reading this story from like the 1980s. Basically, it's like the George R.R. Martin of China. Over here, George R.R. Martin had Game of Thrones and everybody was reading it and all that stuff. Well, China's got somebody that does that too. And why shouldn't they? In China, there's like 1 billion people there. Somebody's going to be able to write. Some of them are going to have stories. So the Game of Thrones dudes, they took these books, these Chinese books, 3-Body Problem, which is very complicated about all this stuff, and they've made a TV show about it. And guess what's happening? Not everybody, certain people who like to complain about shit, they're all complaining about how the show's been whitewashed. Okay, so whitewashing is taking something that is, let me say, the cultural property of something else, taking it, borrowing it, using it for your own purposes, and then instilling your own ethnicity, your own sort of culture into it. You're whitewashing it. It was Chinese, and now it's all like, yeah, because it's on Netflix in America. What, nobody, come on. They're trying to make something for an American audience. And oh, by the way, the author, the person who created Three Body Problem, is all about it because they know it's going to, this is, because they're suddenly going, oh my God, this could be like George R.R. Martin money for me. Sign me up. So nobody's got a problem with it, except for a bunch of people who don't like that it's no longer in Chinese. It's in English. It's like, well, it's a Netflix show for Americans. No American school kids are reading the Chinese books, Three Body Problem. So this is a way to get, Americans into the story, because it is a cool story that, I'd never heard before. Amid early criticism and fears of whitewashing, the cast of the highly anticipated sci-fi series Three Body Problem says it does justice to the original Chinese novels. The Netflix series, developed by writer Alexander Wu and Game of Thrones creators David Benioff and Dan Weiss, follows a group of, here's the basic premise of the show. It follows a group of London-based scientists and authorities who band together to fight a seemingly all-powerful extraterrestrial threat after a slew of suicides alarms the scientific community. Basically, it starts with all of these like super important scientists around the world. They all kill themselves. They all just start killing themselves one after another. It coincides with all of the super colliders around the world suddenly just giving nonsense results that make no sense in science. So the entire scientific community at the beginning of this movie is like, science isn't real. This doesn't make any sense. This defies all the laws. So they start killing themselves. And then there's like a game where they're suddenly, some of these people, they put on a helmet and they're inside a game, but is it a game? Or is the helmet just a way to jump to a different multiverse? Is very interesting. The Netflix series, developed by writer Alexander Wu and Game of Thrones creators David Benioff and Dan Weiss. When the Netflix series was announced, many fans voiced concerns that the novels would be culturally and thematically diluted in the adaptation. Yeah, they were, thankfully. You know why? Because I'm sure the Chinese culture and the culture that was represented in these books originally, I'm sure it's beautiful. And I'm sure it's a wonderful thing. And one day I hope that I can experience it. But that's not what Netflix wants, and that's not what people in Iowa want, okay? They want you. This is a great story. This is not a bastardization. This is not whitewashing. What it is an adaptation for a different culture so that they might enjoy an incredible story that someone from your culture created. It's not stealing it. It's spreading the gospel. You should be proud. You should be like, look at our little writer. They're all over the world. This idea, and nobody's upset about it, right? It says here, many fans voiced concerns. That nobody had real concerns. Nobody is really concerned about this. It's just, oh, here's something that I can complain about. We all like to complain because when we complain, we feel we're being heard. And in our regular life, nobody gives a fuck about you, about me, about any of us. We all have a boss. Our little complaints hold no weight. Nobody cares. So we complain about little things, especially on social media, things that are just so stupid. Ugh. Based on Liu Cixin's, I don't know how to pronounce it, Liu Cixin, the writer, they spell the name Cixins. Liu, that's the first name. I'm going Liu. Liu Cixin's. Cixins. Based on Liu Cixin's acclaimed trilogy, the 8-episode show is a departure from the source novels, which set the time-spanning story in China, beginning during the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s. Okay, so this one's set in London, again, because they want people, this is for the Western world. Whatever, it's good. It's a good show. Three Body Problem. I'm gonna watch a couple of episodes tonight. It's not Game of Thrones. It's not like Game of Thrones at all. Actually, there are some aspects of it that I'm like, yeah, that's the Game of Thrones magic. There is some of that. For instance, I saw some sword fights. There were some sword fights. I watched that and I was like, oh, that's a good sword fight. Okay, there you go. That's it. 3-body problem. People are complaining that the new Netflix show is whitewashing Chinese culture. Ugh. All right, guys, that's going to do it. We're just about done with the show. Those are all of the issues. I don't know if anything big has happened since I signed on here. I appreciate you hanging with me today. I know the show is delayed. I know that this throws a bit of a monkey wrench in whatever rhythm or pattern you have to your day. I apologize, but thank you. It looks like everybody showed up. You guys are the best. Again, programming note, Wednesday's show is going to be interrupted. Wednesday's show will happen, but Wednesday's show may happen the way today's show did. It's just a little bit delayed. I got my friends. Oh, yeah, I got them. And by the way, this is total pleasure. I wish I could say that Wednesday's show is being interrupted because, I've got some big job thing. But no. Wednesday's show is being interrupted because I have friends coming into town. So one of my oldest and most trusted and dearest friends and biggest advisors, he's coming into town on Wednesday for opening day, Rangers, White Sox. He's in his team. He's bringing his whole team. It's the White Sox, play-by-play crew. It's like their radio team. It's their play-by-play guys. My buddy's in charge of all of that up in Chicago. He's their boss. And so he's flying into Love Field at 10:30 on Wednesday. And I'm like, dude, I live right next to Love Field. He's like, oh, he's great. He's like, we should have dinner. I'm like, no, let me come pick you up. I'm going to come pick you up. It's 5 minutes away. He's like, you don't have to do that. I go, no, I do. I do have to do that. So that's why Wednesday's show is going to be a little bit late. That'll be fun. And then Wednesday night, I'm going to hang out. I'm going to hang out at the team hotel. I did this once before. The Cubs, this is the Cubs. Yes, this is the Cubs team that he's bringing to town. It's the Cubs and the Rangers on opening day. The last time we did this was about 10 years ago now at this point, when he was in charge of the White Sox. He had the rights to his entity, the station that he's in charge of, had the rights to the White Sox back then, and they brought the White Sox in. So that was fun for me because that night he's like, yeah, come on by. I'll buy you dinner. We'll hang out in the hotel. It's cool because all the players are there because they don't go out. So that whole night was just me in this little hotel bar. And by the way, it's not like some fancy hotel where everybody's there. No, it's team hotel. Actually, it was at a private resort. So we were just in this little private bar area. And I got to hang out with all the White Sox players. Or not hang out with them because, I'm a diehard White Sox fan, so that was a thrill. But I got to at least say hi to them and stuff. I sat there and ate a sandwich right next to Robin Ventura, who was the manager of the team at the time. Hawk Harrelson was there. And my friend. Anyway, it's a good thrill. And I'm going to probably do that again Wednesday night, except it'll be Cubs. Bunch of Cubs. I don't know. Maybe I'll start a fight with Cody Bellinger, something like that. Maybe Trevor Story. Maybe he and I will get in. Is Trevor Story a Cub? I so don't know anything about Cubs. I don't. Anyway, it'll be fun. So Wednesday's going to be a little bit interrupted, but we are going to do a show on Wednesday. I got to take care of my boys. I got to come get them. I got to make sure I don't want them jumping in an Uber. No, come on. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pick them up at 10:30 in the morning. You know where we're going to go? We're going to go right across the street. We're going to go to Heim Barbecue because they're probably going to want some food when they get off the flight. I'm going to say, I got the place for you. I'll take them to Heim right there across from Love Field. Heim's good. And then I'll take them out to where the Cubs are staying. Las Colinas. That's where I got to go. So that's not bad. And then I'll be done with that. I'll take them, get them all checked in, and we'll make dinner plans for later. And then they'll go do their work and stuff that they do all day. And I'll come back here. I'll do my stream. And if you'll indulge me, I think Wednesday's show will probably be about a 1:00 show start, something like that. All right. Other than that, I have no known interruptions this week. Shows as usual. All right, Fast Outdoor Food says he's going out. He's going to get himself a ticket, a lottery ticket. He says, I'll go out and I'll get a ticket now, and I'll give everyone in the chat now over $1 million. What about me? You can give me anything? You don't have to give me $1 million. If you were to be like, dude, I don't have to give you $1 million. I'll give you, dude, if you could fund this show, if this show had like a $10,000 a month budget, like, that includes like me and a producer and a booker, and but if we could, like, nobody getting rich off that. This show on a $10,000 a month budget would explode. We would have exactly the kind of funds to promote it. I got a friend who started doing a show. He lives in Portland. He's a former radio guy up there in Portland. And he started doing a show, and he's got like huge numbers. And I'm like, how are you getting so many numbers on your stream? He's like, oh, I'm just paying to promote the show. And I'm like, fuck, you people with money. Yeah, good for them. Don't begrudge them. All right, now is the time in today's show. Oh, hold on. What is Adam saying? Adam says, was making lunch for Maddie. What about Squid Game being culturally relevant here? Despite being Korean, surely they could do the same for this show. Nah, don't want it. So, as a matter of fact, Squid Game was cool, but honestly, I won't watch a sequel because I saw it. It's just I don't want to read subtitles. No, they couldn't. Just stop it, man. You know what? Willy Wonka or whatever that fucking story is, that's not in Dutch, right? It's not in Flemish or whatever. So come on, man, just stop it. There was no ill intent here. They took a cool Chinese story and they went, well, Americans aren't going to watch it because they're not. They're going to watch a Chinese story, and they made it more palatable for Americans. And now we all get to understand and recognize that, oh my God, look at the Chinese people. Look at this. I'm being influenced by Chinese culture. I don't know. Just stop it. Ugh. See what I mean? See what I mean when I say you freaking weirdos, you right-wing, red hat wearing weirdos? And then I say the left is so irritating. That's Adam. Adam's my buddy on the left. Adam is so irritating with that shit. Just fucking stop it. Look, I'll tell you who's very excited about this. The Chinese person who wrote the book. All in. They are all in. So let's just go with what they think instead of what a bunch of nameless, voiceless, anonymous crybabies on social media has to say. The person who created it is like, yeah, no, I'm totally cool with this. Come on. Adam says, you're literally describing it to a T, and yet you think it's 100% okay. See what I mean, folks? That's just irritating. Endlessly. No end in sight. To how he is going to attempt to irritate me with this topic. We could have just walked away from it, but that's why Adam and I, we go back long enough. We know how to irritate each other. Honestly, I swear to God. I mean, I've known Adam, his lovely wife. They're cute little Maddie, and they got a whole thing going on now. I knew him when he was just a fucking way worse. He was way worse back in the day. Now he's like kind of a respectable guy, which is why I have such great admiration. The life that those kids have built together. They used to hold hands. They'd come out to Pugs and Kelly events. They'd hold hands, and they'd hang out with us afterwards because they were nice people. All of that for me to go, you're irritating, though, Adam. It's irritating. Give it up. Leave it alone. All right, now let me get irritating. He said, okay, so what he's saying, Adam, here, I'm sorry, he should be allowed to have his say. Adam says, not saying to boycott or to avoid it, but it's literally whitewashing. Okay, all right, you know what? That's okay, well, thank you, because I don't really put much stock in words like that. Those are, I think, loaded, targeted words designed to, make somebody feel bad about a choice that they meant, regardless of whether their intention was to be a bad guy. But whatever. We've got a lot of those words in our vocabulary these days, so I resist it. But if that is true, what you're saying, that it is absolutely whitewashing, then I'm here to say, guess I got no problem with whitewashing. Guess I got no problem with it. And this is funny because I'm the guy who've been, going on and on about Saudi Arabia trying to do their, what do they call that? Sport washing of their national reputation by having really cool events. And so that people go, Saudi Arabia is awesome. And then somebody's got to go, well, they cut people's heads off in town squares. That's kind of how they do their justice. But yeah, good, cool soccer games. Let's talk about Roadhouse. All right, folks, here you go. I told you I wanted to end this show with what it was just a magical weekend for me and the boy. Me and my 14-year-old son, God, is it hot. It's hot, huh? What is going on here? What's the temperature here? What temperature we got? Hold on, let's see. 74? Oh my God, it's 74 degrees today. By the way, once again, the greatest scam, the greatest con men, the greatest flim-flam boys and girls in the history of local television news, the weathermen can S-a-D one more time. It was supposed to be thunderstorms all day today. As early as like 8 o'clock this morning, when you looked at the forecast for today, it was never going to get above 60. It was going to be raining. We're in a thunderstorm watch. It's like 74 degrees and sunny, and I'm like hot. I'm like in here going, oh, weathermen. Oh, they don't know anything. They don't know anything. And there is no, I don't know if weathermen are worse than NFL draft experts as far as not being held accountable for the shit that they say, but they're up there. That's it. Local weathermen and NFL draft experts. Never held accountable. Never held accountable for anything. Roadhouse. All right. Let's hold Doug Liman accountable. Doug Liman has remade Roadhouse. Roadhouse, of course, the great, it's not great, it's actually stupid. And I say this because I just watched it like within the last 30 hours. Roadhouse, the Patrick Swayze movie, Patrick Swayze, and that's it, right? There ain't nobody else in that movie. Kelly Lynch, she's his girlfriend, but that's not a big role. Sam Elliott's in that. Anyway, Roadhouse, for Gen X like me, it hit me right where I lived, right at a time when, I was willing to accept that as entertainment. I loved it. I loved Roadhouse from the minute I saw it. I loved all the stupid Swayze movies. Next of Kin, that was great. Roadhouse, but let's stay focused on Roadhouse. So Roadhouse was just a fun movie. That's all it was in the 1980s. We didn't walk out. Me and my buddies didn't walk out of seeing Roadhouse at the Orland Square Plit Theaters thinking that, oh, this is going to win an Oscar. I mean, we knew what it was. It was a dumb, fucking, stupid movie where they showed tits gratuitously for no reason. We ran headfirst into that while I'm watching it with my 14-year-old. I forgot. Like, if you had said to me, is Roadhouse dirty? I'd have been like, no, it's not dirty at all. It's kind of dirty. It's kind of dirty, but my son's 14 and we just rolled with it. The original Roadhouse in the 1980s had one of those scenes where, and this is a trope from 80s movies. If a bunch of girls in bathing suits, is that CeeLo? No, CeeLo's in the bedroom. In the 80s, if a group of girls walk into a house that has a swimming pool, you can bet your bottom dollar that within minutes, this is in 80s TV, within minutes, they'll see the swimming pool, behave like they've never seen a swimming pool before, and immediately take their tops off. That's an 80s movie trope. Swimming pool, let's go, girls. So there was that stuff in Roadhouse, which I thought was really funny by today's standards. I'm like, that is just a gratuitous exploitation of boobs, because they wanted to get dudes to sit in this theater and watch this movie about punchy face. Because that's what it is. It was going to be all dudes. And they're like, all right, we're going to give them some punchy face. But then what else are we going to give them? Let's give them some boobs for no reason. It's a swimming pool. So there was that. My kid was cool. It's fine. You know what? I'm not a weirdo about that stuff. It's the human body. I'm not going to all right. So me and my son, we decided on Saturday night that we were going to watch the original Roadhouse, and then we were going to roll right into the new Roadhouse. So we're watching the original Roadhouse, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun because we were doing it the right way. It wasn't like, shh, I'm trying to hear the dialogue. There's no reason to need to hear the dialogue. Me and my kids sat there. We ate meatball sandwiches. We ate a bowl of Doritos, and we just made fun of the original Roadhouse. Like anything. It was just so much fun. Like I'll give you an example. So in the very early stages, in the very early stages of Roadhouse, when Dalton, Patrick Swayze's character, is first introduced to the other people who work at the bar, we're to believe that this is like a Saturday morning at the bar, and they've called, and all the manager has called. Everyone's got to be here. We're having a big meeting, and so you got the bartenders and the busboys and the waitresses, and they're all showing up there. And Dalton is gonna, tell them what the new law of the land is in this place. So Dalton shows up, and we're watching this, and Jeff Healey, the blind guitar player from the band, he's just in the band. And they establish early on in the film that he's not the house band. He travels around. That's how he knows Dalton, because he's traveled the circuit and played at other bars, other roadhouses that Dalton has been there. But then all of a sudden for this Saturday meeting, there's Jeff Healey, the blind guy who they woke up. And we're like, you got to come to this meeting about how we're going to, handle stealing from the till and checking IDs. And then we were watching this. And they scan the room and they show everybody it's there. And my 14-year-old kid goes, "What's he there for, Dad?" I go, "I don't know. I don't know why he's there." I mean, I can understand how it would be a mandatory meeting. I've been a bartender. I've attended these mandatory meetings. We don't invite the DJ, or we don't invite the lead singer of the band that's playing that night to sit in. It was just funny. But that was an example of the kind of shit that we just relentlessly tore this movie apart. It was so much fun. So that was the first Roadhouse. So that one ended, and we're laughing, and we're having this like great experience. And then we're like, all right, let's go. Let's roll. New Roadhouse. So we go right into the new Roadhouse, and everything changes. Everything changes during the new Roadhouse. We're watching this movie. We're actually paying attention to this movie. Now we're watching Jake Gyllenhaal. Turns out my son, very into Jake Gyllenhaal. Like real into Jake. Like I'm like at some point I'm like, okay, dude, that's enough about a six pack. I mean, what are you doing? why are you going up? He's like, what? And I go, it just, he's like, he's in really good shape. I go, yeah, I know he's in really good shape. It's enough. It's enough about Jake Gyllenhaal. So we're watching this, and we're counting. He's cool because he's counting them off. Everything in the new movie that has a correlation to something in the original movie. He's like, there it is. He's giving his car away again. Do you remember that? Do you remember that was like Patrick Swayze? That was Dalton's thing. That he would take a job at a roadhouse, and the first thing he would do is he would go to a used car lot in that town and buy like the shittiest car. And then that would be the car that he would drive to the roadhouse every night, because he knew that people were going to fuck up his car. He knew that people were going to like slash his tires and break his window. But then he had like a Mercedes, like a really nice car. Shitty car is the only thing that they had in common with the new one. Conor McGregor is the bad guy. It's like a featured bad guy part in the new one. In the original Roadhouse, there was no featured bad guy. It was just a bad group of people that were, local drug dealers. So I guess the question is, which is better, right? Well, actually, let me answer this. So the first question would be is let's forget about the original Roadhouse. The first question would be, is the new Roadhouse on Amazon Prime good? And my answer would be, is Coors Light good? Is Coors Light good? Do you think Coors Light is good? If you think Coors Light is good, then yeah, the new Roadhouse is good. The new Roadhouse isn't, Bell's. The new Roadhouse isn't a perfectly poured Guinness. It's everyday. It's an everyday fun, stupid movie. It's, very similar to the original. There's a whole bunch of things that are parallels, that are similar. Did I enjoy it? Loved it. We loved it. We loved both of them though. But, we're just looking to kill time on a Saturday night and make memories. So we loved them. We were laughing. It was just a great experience. I've never really seen a movie that didn't leave me in, I've seen movies and be like, I didn't like that movie. Or I've started to watch a movie and then went, I don't want to watch this movie, and bailed out on it. But I mean, it's very rare that I'll watch an entire movie and then be like angry that I just watched them. You know what I mean? So we enjoyed it. It was fun. Like, that was fun. Conor McGregor is great. Conor McGregor is amazing. Conor McGregor's a movie star. Guess what? I'm sorry. I know you people don't like it. No, nobody wants this. Conor McGregor is a movie star. Conor McGregor is going to look. Oh, really? Because John Cena can do it. The Rock can do it, but Conor McGregor can't. Let me tell you something. Conor McGregor has shown over the last 10 years of his fighting career that he is every bit as charismatic and over the top fun and interesting as any of those WWE guys. And get this, Conor McGregor can act. Conor McGregor, now, as my son pointed out, he's kind of just playing Conor McGregor, isn't he? I'm like, no, I think he's playing Conor McGregor, except 1,000 times crazier. It was very good. It was good. Fight scenes. My son, 14 years old, who's a jujitsu, he trains jujitsu. We're watching the original Roadhouse, and he's watching these fight scenes, and he's like, so nobody's going to choke anybody out. So this could have been over, but no, he's not going to take the neck. He's just going to let it. So there was that. The fight scenes between the original Roadhouse and the new Roadhouse, it's like they were filmed in two different eras, because they were. The original Roadhouse, the fight scenes that we loved back when we were, kids. Oh, they're so bad. It's so movie fights. It's you stand there and don't move and let me size you up and then pop you in the face. It's like so phony. It is so not real, but it's fun. It's fun. The new Roadhouse, those fight scenes are real. Those fight scenes are utilizing all kinds of MMA stuff. MMA wasn't even, nobody knew, honestly, nobody had ever put M and A next to each other when the original Roadhouse was there. Jiu-jitsu and choke fighting and that kind of submission fighting, that wasn't something that in 1986 or whatever, when Roadhouse came out, Patrick Swayze version, that wasn't anything anybody knew. Nobody knew to choke someone out. The new one is. So the fight sequences or the fight scenes in the new Roadhouse are really good because it's Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor knows what he's doing. And it's just, and Jake Gyllenhaal seems to really know what he's doing too, but isn't that what an actor is? An actor is someone who can make you believe that they know what they're doing. What do I like better? Do I like the original Roadhouse better than the new Roadhouse? Well, that's an unfair ask because the original Roadhouse for me has about 30 plus years of sentimental attachment, right? I love Roadhouse. Before I saw it, before I rewatched it, if you had asked me, the Roadhouse, is that a good movie? I'd have told you, yeah, the original Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, that's a real good movie. You should definitely watch it. But then I watched it with my kid on Saturday, and I'm like, this is a fucking terrible movie. It's just a bad movie. None of it makes sense. It's all just thrown together. But it's fun. We enjoyed it. It was crazy. It was Patrick Swayze. Pain don't hurt. Do you ever win a fight, Dalton? Nobody wins a fight. All these like lame, so good. So good. So that's the original. The new one's pretty good. The new one is a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story. There were tremendous performances. There were a lot of interesting, funny people. Jake Gyllenhaal is great. Come on, Jake Gyllenhaal's a great actor. Jake Gyllenhaal plays this character very well. Except now we know Dalton's got a first name. I mean, the Dalton in the original one, Patrick Swayze Dalton, I don't think he had a first name. He was just always Dalton. This guy, Jake Gyllenhaal is Elwood Dalton. Also missed the presence of a Sam Elliott type. Like when things got in the original Roadhouse, Patrick Swayze, when stuff got a little bit hot for him, he picked up the phone and he called his old buddy Wade Garrett. Wade Garrett's the best bouncer of all time, but Wade's getting a little bit old. Wade's the old lion. Dalton's the young lion, but the young lion needs a little help, so he calls his mentor, Wade Garrett. Sam Elliott shows up. Sam Elliott, no mustache. We're used to thinking Sam Elliott with the mustache. Sam Elliott didn't have a mustache. He just had like a full 5 o'clock shadow that looked like he was on the verge of a beard. So we didn't get that. In the new Roadhouse, we did not get sort of a buddy to Jake Gyllenhaal. In the original Roadhouse, Patrick Swayze's Dalton was a complicated man of some accomplishment. He had Dalton in the original had some sophistication to him. He had a master's degree from NYU in philosophy. That's pain don't hurt. That's that Dalton. That's who he was. He drove a Mercedes You know, that was the car that he kept under the tarp because when he drove between Roadhouse gigs, he drove a luxury sports car. It was a very nice car. So that's who that Dalton was. This Dalton, the one in the new one, Jake Gyllenhaal's Dalton, he's kind of a loser. He's got some real serious PTSD. He's got some serious issues. He's not in complete control of his actions. He's trying very hard to be in complete control of his actions, but he knows that if he gets pushed too far, he will murder people with his bare hands. That's his great battle. That is the great battle that Jake Gyllenhaal as Dalton in the new Roadhouse is going through. How far can I go before I snap and I actually do kill this person? That's his demon. That wasn't the demon with the other Dalton. Patrick Swayze's Dalton was just, I can kick anybody's ass in the world, but that's the last resort. Be nice. You know, he's all about be nice. And Jake Gyllenhaal is too, but Jake Gyllenhaal plays it more like a guy who knows how dangerous he is, and he's doing everything that he can to contain his cool, to stay calm, to stay friendly, to stay nice. That's how Jake Gyllenhaal is played. Jake Gyllenhaal is a powder keg that at any minute is going to erupt, and there's going to be a lot of dead people. Patrick Swayze's Dalton is just, you know, he's a dude. He's a philosopher with a master's degree who finds some honor in, you know, solving, you know, bar problems. All right, there you go. That was Saturday night. Thank you. There's my review, my compare and contrast of the two Roadhouse films. Are they good? Probably not. I mean, I don't know. What do you mean? What is good? Like, the best film of all time, in my opinion, is Dr. Strangelove. That's my favorite. It's what I think is the best film ever made. I mean, you know, they're not even the same species. You know, I don't put the Roadhouse films in the same. They're not the same species classification as Dr. Strangelove. But they're both, you know, but they're fine. They're fine. Every movie, they're fun. They're a good time. You'll enjoy them. They aren't tedious. I'll tell you this about both movies, about both Roadhouse movies, and this should be a testament to their magic, because there is a degree of magic in both of these films that make us watch. Testament to it is you're not bored. You're never bored. You might be, I mean, the audacity, like you might be like, hey, what? What did I just watch? But you're sticking around for the next scene, because the next scene's going to be funny and stupid too. There you have it. All right. Roadhouse. How many stars? I don't know. Stars. I'm not doing stars. How about just this? Should we watch it? Yeah. Yeah, I'd say watch it. Watch the new Roadhouse. All right, folks. Also watch Three Body Problem. That's the new show on Netflix that I discovered. That's pretty good. Adam says there can only be one Tobey Maguire in Hollywood, and that's me, Jake Gyllenhaal. Okay, I'm sure that there is some context to that, Adam. But is that a thing? That like people get Tobey Maguire and Jake Gyllenhaal confused? Because I get Tobey Maguire and Jake Gyllenhaal confused. Or not anymore. Jake Gyllenhaal has separated himself. Like Jake Gyllenhaal has gone on. But like 10 years ago, I would have been hard pressed to pick out the difference between Jake Gyllenhaal and Tobey Maguire. That's interesting. Al is telling me I'm awesome. That's so nice. You know, I know you guys, you think that's a nice thing. Al sat there and he started typing, "You're awesome, amigo." He just started typing that. Fuck, that's cool. That's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that you like actually typed that. I mean, look, I know you don't really mean it. Oh, I mean, maybe you do mean it, but everybody doesn't do that. But you did. You chose to do that. You chose to type that, and I'm just telling you that I read it, and that made me feel good. So you did that. You created a good feeling in me from nothing. And that's kind of how I like to live my life. Let's do that. Let's compliment people. Let's make people feel good today. Give them something that they didn't have before they had their interaction with you. All right, now somebody kick me in the face because I'm turning into a weird hippie. Love you guys. Also, thank you to Tracy D. She was our exec producer today. Tracy D's awesome. Thank you, Tracy. If you want to help out the show and you want to be tomorrow's executive producer, we did not get any tips yet today, I do not think. So you are, there's a clear path for you to be tomorrow's executive producer. All right, once again, a reminder. What time did I start today? Did I start at 1:30? 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. So we've done 2 hours plus. Have we? Oh my God, this went by so quick. I love you guys. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow at noon for the High Noon Rant. You're the best. Bye.